Yo. What's up? All right. Let me make sure everything is good. Actually, before I do that, let me turn that down a little bit. I don't know if it's at a good volume for background music. I feel like it is, looking at the mixer. What's up? Hello. You are tuned in for Critical Eyes, episode 84. This is where I, Mega, longtime DM, watch through Critical Role, Campaign 1, talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, theorize, analyze, and overall have a pretty good time, I would say. Although I don't know about this episode, because this episode has been intense so far. Although I think we may have gotten past the intense part. We'll see. I think we may have gotten past the intense part. I feel like the rest of it is kind of wrapping up a little bit. I do think now, I don't know, but like especially towards the end of the session, they started talking about things that make me think there might be like some sort of time skip. Like they talked about like, Vax was like, I'm going to go, I'm going to go back with Keyleth and like, you're going to stay here with Percy. And with like Scanlan and Keyleth, maybe there's, he wants to just go off and hang out with her for a little bit. And I will say, I think my opinion is also being colored, modified by the fact that they are, what would you say? We're about to reach a change in the thumbnail background. So I know that we are entering in a new arc in terms of organization, but I have yet to see an inciting incident other than Matt giving that vague, kind of, I wouldn't even say a hint, but like that, that vague little aside to Liam about like, oh, the Raven Queen might still have something going on. So I feel like, but we might not see that for a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But I think the transcript is working. Let me make sure. Okay. I think we are good there. We are. I think we're good to go. What's up, Valkyrie, Brittany, G, Hercub, Teprock? Hello. Okay, let me make sure that is working. That is working. Let me make sure that this is working. This is working, I believe. All right. I will also say, in terms of last episode, because I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot more from / about Scanlan this episode. I feel like he's out cold. Sam Riegel isn't here. And there was a lot of interesting conversation last session, or last stream, and it definitely made me think about TTRPGs as a medium, because it seemed that the people that, really like Scanlan or like Scanlan's arc, like it a lot because he is flawed and because his character growth sort of models real life, character growth. Maybe a bit better than the more idyllic, kind of straight upward slant that most of the other characters kind of go on. Which I totally get. But it did make me think about, like, I don't really see that, and I don't really identify much with that in terms of Scanlan in particular. And I think it's because if we imply any amount of like character growth from Scanlan, it mostly happens off screen, or it is mostly implied. Especially when you think about like any like big moments or any moments that are implied by the other characters. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I do think it's harder in a TTRPG. And I love TTRPGs as a medium. I think, for long and complicated reasons, I think TTRPGs are one of the best storytelling mediums we have ever come up with. But it has some definite weaknesses. And if I think about how Scanlan would sort of get, in Scanlan's story, would sort of get implemented in other mediums, I think a lot about a montage. Because even something like, repairing his relationship with Keyleth. Like, let's say that there is a time skip. I'm not saying there will be, but let's say that there is. Like, right after this, he's like, I want to go and, hang out with Keyleth for a couple of months. We're rich as hell. The Chroma Conclave's down. Like, I want to go repair my relationship with my daughter. Even in that case, I would, if I'm thinking about that in a TV show, I'm thinking about a montage where it's like a 2-minute montage, maybe 10 cuts over that, 2 minutes, over that 120 seconds, so like 12 seconds a cut. And they show, Scanlan and Keyleth doing a lot of the boring things. Scanlan helping her with something, her teaching him something, et cetera, et cetera. We get like 10 little 12-second cuts that would help us imply all of the boring stuff in between, right? But that sort of sequence is hard, number one, in a TTRPG in general. Like, a montage sequence in general is kind of difficult, because when you're generally constructing a scene, right, the player is playing the character, and the DM is sort of a director in this analogy. They're choosing when the scene starts and when the scene ends, at least in a broad sense. And that's tough with a montage, because these are meant to be 12 things back to back to back that are all different, but the through line of them communicates a theme or a symbolic meaning that is derived from all of the shots put together, not just from any individual shot. That is hard to improv as a player. That's hard to act out those things back to back to back to back. And it's hard as a GM to manage that start and stop without it feeling, stilted or rushed. It's hard to fine tune that pacing. Unless it's all really planned out and really scripted. And at that point, we're getting away from the medium as a whole. We're kind of pushing it into a different medium that isn't as improv based. So I think the only, I was really thinking about it in terms of if I wanted to have a character like Scanlan, and I'll just focus on his relationship with Keyleth. We won't worry about the drugs or any of that stuff. Just his relationship with Keyleth. How would I show that relationship improving? Because that sort of relationship and that sort of hurt takes time. It takes boring time and effort and consistency. And I think one of the big things there is just time. We've talked about it before. A lot of campaigns have this weird, a lot of D&D campaigns feel, if you actually look at them objectively of how long they actually took, they're weirdly short. And that's one of the arguments for implementing more downtime. And so I do think if you want to have a arc that takes time, one of the aspects of how the character would grow is that they would have to show consistency. Because that's one of the flaws at the core of Keyleth and Scanlan's relationship, right? That's one of the core issues, is that he wasn't there for her, right? He she cannot rely on him because he has not been reliable in the past. Whether or not that's his fault, or like how much fault or blame you place on him for that, he wasn't there. And so now, in order to, one of the aspects of mending that relationship would be to show that he is reliable, to show that he will be there for her, and that takes consistency over time. But in a campaign where if the time is weirdly short, you can't really model that. Like, you cannot show that specific flavor of character growth. Unless, which I thought about this, unless you have consistent downtime, which consistent downtime is one of I think the most common solutions to injecting more fictional time into your campaign is downtime. And I actually think that downtime would be a really great way to model that sort of consistency and that sort of dedication if all the other players, let's say, are working on a long-term project, or they're carousing, or they're researching, or they're crafting. And for like 9 downtimes in a row, like 10, 11 sessions, you say, I'm going to spend my downtime with Keyleth. Like, I'm not going to get anything out of it. I'm just going to go and spend time with her. Now, as a player and as a character, you are choosing to give up time in order to model that character growth, that Scanlan is now giving up some personal pursuits in order to, and like that giving up of the personal pursuits in order to spend what is essentially unproductive, big air quotes, time with Keyleth. That is a good way to model that form of putting someone else before yourself. You are getting nothing out of this time that you are spending other than spending time with them and being there for them. When all of the other players and their characters are getting things out of these downtime segments. But without that, I think it's difficult. It's difficult, and it sort of falls back into this area of implication. Of we imply what happens off screen. And I think one of the reasons that there's maybe such a split I think one of the reasons that there is such a split amongst the base when looking at Scanlan, or at least within my chat and comments, is partially to do with like pattern extrapolation. Like, we see him do that sort of thing once or twice, and if you are being generous to Scanlan, then you imply the pattern that he will continue to do that, right? You essentially, if we see him put in effort once or twice, we assume that that pattern will hold if we're being generous to him. And if we're not being generous to him, maybe we don't identify with him as much, or maybe we identify with someone that he's hurt, or someone that is, a complicated figure in his life, like maybe Keyleth, then we might assume the opposite. We might assume that those once or twice things are exceptions and that the pattern won't hold. And the only way to actually prove one of those two things would be to have really consistent downtime. You have to establish it over a period of time. And so that's why I say that, TTRPGs just might not be, and I shouldn't even say TTRPGs in general, maybe just D&D might not be the best way to, or the best medium for this sort of arc. Unless you want the ambiguity built in. I don't think Sam was like going for that. And I also don't blame Sam for not like thinking through all this bullshit. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna read what you guys are saying. Because it's a very, like, the time aspect of it is really important to this sort of arc, and it's something that is explicitly weird within TTRPGs in general, but D&D in specific. Keep talking about Scanlan. This is what I need. Time does work weird. My real-time year-long campaign was only about 2 weeks in game time. Exactly. And it's like, even if I imagine Scanlan and Keyleth in real life, no matter how many good things he did within 2 weeks, no matter how much he sacrificed within 2 weeks, that could easily be an exception, and he could easily go back to not being there, right? Like, I don't know how intimately familiar any given person might be, but, like, this is a thing in real life, with people that you have a maybe more toxic relationship with. They come back. I don't want to use, the pop fucking psychology term of, like, love bombing, but they come back, they try really hard for a short period of time, and then they're gone again, right? The pattern doesn't hold. And so it's like, in a 2-week time period, you just essentially can't do that sort of arc and display that real character growth purely because of the time, oh shit. Oh wait, I fucked something up. Oh no, please don't. I wish that there was a way that I could stop this, but I can't. It's already in progress. Oh no. It's not gonna... Is it gonna do something bad? Oh no. Oh no. I wish I could just... One of the things I don't like about streamer.bot is that it is not... You can't, like... Yep, there we go. Oh, yep, alright. You can't, like, cancel an action once it's in progress. It just doesn't let you. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, I know I already have a copy of all these things running. Yep. I pressed the wrong button on here. Oh, fucking shit, man. Cancel everything. Okay, I think we're good. Hopefully we're good. Let me make sure that nothing got fucked up in here. Okay, we're good. Okay. Anyways, I think narration explicitly mentioned the time passed and the day-to-day boring actions being done to repair the relationship could suffice. Then the roleplay of a much different status quo in which things are better. You could, but that would require, again, a time skip of some sort, I think. I think that is the big problem, is time. And the reason I talk about, like, consistent downtime is that I think you need that extended period. Even if you have, or you need a big time skip. You need like a 6-month time skip, year-long time skip in order to establish that. In which case, I do think you could do like a montage narration type thing. But you just need the time, That thing you're describing did happen. Western downtime. Everyone was doing their own thing. Scanlan traveled after Keyleth. Yes, that is a really, really good point. We need that repeatably. We need that repeated. But I agree. Yes, absolutely. That is. I forgot that happened. Yes, that's a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. I think Critical Role specifically is not a good campaign for this type because there's so little downtime. We always follow Vox Machina. Yeah. And I think, I'll give Vox Machina credit here. I think they are closer to the typical D&D campaign in this sense especially than the type of campaign I'm describing. That's why I say I don't know that this sort of character arc is maybe that well suited to D&D, because I think the type of campaign and the type of table you would need to be running at is relatively atypical, relatively rare within kind of the grand scheme of things. Remember those 2 weeks where I was a good father? Kinda, yeah. I mean, to repair that sort of relationship, you just need time. You need time, you need consistency. And it's that is just a tough part of things, To be fair, he hasn't had a lot of time to be a good father. It's all been dragons and the end of the world. Yes. We're all saying the same thing here. I agree. That's why I'm not even saying that like Sam is modeling this poorly or that they needed to do something differently. I think the setup that we are in just does not lend itself to the type of things you would need to have to really execute on this super well, or at least not even necessarily well, but unambiguously. Because again, I think that people can assume that this pattern of behavior for Scanlan will hold. I think if you're being generous to him, you can assume that. But if you're being ungenerous towards him, you could say, well, he backslides quite often. Who knows if this pattern will hold? I'm not confident in it. So there's an amount of ambiguity there. And I think if you wanted to run this character arc unambiguously, or at least less ambiguously, you would need that extra time. Yeah. It wasn't like around a month since Keyleth and Scanlan first met? Yes. That'd be so short. Yeah. 1000%. That is I think time is just the ultimate problem. Yeah. Maybe downtime, not the right word, but like time skips. Yeah. Downtime or time skips. Any method for abstracting long periods of time. Because I think that is like the core of what you need is long stretches of time. Yeah. I think this extremely short time span is why some people think Scanlan is manipulating Keyleth. In real life, this development would take so much more time, so it seems like he's crushing and pushing her. Yes. And that is what I'm kind of getting at is like, with the way that it is set up, it kind of relies on your personal generosity, as a viewer. In terms of how you interpret these things. I think you can very incredibly reasonably interpret it more positive or more negative. And I think both of those interpretations could absolutely be the correct or true one. I think they're equally valid to interpret it much more negatively or to interpret it much more positively. Because we just haven't had the time for either of those scenarios to kind of collapse into one possibility, It's been about 2 months and a half between Chroma Conclave and Raishan's death. Yeah. You just need to the characters to sit down at the local village psychologist for a single hardcore therapy session. Yeah, we do one session that is like a weird, like vision quest. They go and smoke some ayahuasca and go on a spirit journey together. And we play an entire session, like not even in D&D. We break out a totally separate TTRPG, like The Beckoning Dream. And and we have Keyleth and Scanlan go through ego death. Hey man, maybe that would work. I don't know. Maybe that would kind of hit. I kind of like where you're going with that, B Rhythms. Yeah. I'm probably being innocent here, but what would he gain by manipulating her into what? So, and even like the manipulation is an interesting term because I agree with it, but I think it's being used in a different maybe way than is typical, because manipulation, is typically like getting something out of it. He would get a daughter without the proper work and commitment. So the manipulation in this case is not necessarily getting you a different result. It would be modifying the cost that you have to put in to get that result. I think when we think about manipulation, we sort of think about it traditionally in getting a result that you wouldn't otherwise. But I think in this case, it's the same result, but it's a difference in effort or cost to achieve it. At least if I am, defending that position. I don't even think he is. I kind of agree with Daniel. I think he's not even intentionally manipulating her. I guess he could be, but even that, that sort of intentionality, we haven't really seen on screen. So I would find it difficult to imagine that he's or not difficult, I guess, but I don't personally imagine him to be intentionally manipulating her. So far from what I've seen, he's either the beginning of like a good pattern of him being there and him being committed to her, or it is the behavior of someone who really wants to be there for her, who really wants to, start things off on the right foot. But when the rubber actually hits the road, when it comes to putting in the boring work, not the one grand gesture, the endurance, when it comes to all that stuff, I don't necessarily know that he'll continue caring. So it's only manipulation, or maybe not only, but at least in my interpretation, we can't tell if it's manipulation yet, because we don't know if he keeps the pattern up, if this is just, if this is just him and how he interacts with the loved one. You could maybe critique that if you want, but I don't think in that case it's necessarily manipulative or manipulation. But instead of 21-hour sessions, they just have a 20-hour chunk of therapy. I'm sure nothing could go wrong. Exactly. Nothing could go wrong. One grand gesture solves everything syndrome? Yeah, essentially. I think that is I don't want to say bad faith, but that is the more negative interpretation of what is going on here. And the more positive interpretation is Scanlan is just a person of grand gestures. Like, that is how he interacts with people a lot of the time. And so if he keeps up that pattern of like consistent grand gestures and boring, simple, necessary things, then that might just be fine. If this is how he interacts with loved ones, that's kind of my point. We haven't seen him with this kind of loved one. I don't think he knows how to do this kind of love. Totally. I think that, or I shouldn't say totally. I think that's a fair interpretation. But we also haven't even seen him interact with this loved one long enough in order to know what exactly this is. It's all time. It's all time. In character, Scanlan isn't a wise gnome. It's probably Sam playing out what a self-centered person would do before realizing it's a mistake. Maybe. I think these are very, very fair interpretations. And the really unfortunate part, or not even, I guess not necessarily really unfortunate, but it's just all of the things that would either prove or disprove kind of the, I don't want to say theories, but like the interpretations of Sam's character and actions just take a lot of time to play out, They take a lot of time to play out and to prove. And that in and of itself is really difficult. In D&D specifically, and to a lesser extent in TTRPGs broadly. Yeah. So I don't know. It was very interesting to think about. I'm not exactly sure where I am ultimately landing on Scanlan. Like if I have to be really frank, I'm not entirely sure where I'm at with him. And it will sort of require me to see... I think my interpretation of what he is doing now will sort of be somewhat contingent on how he ends, right? I see him at somewhat of a fork in the road in terms of he could be a lot of different people. And I'm not exactly sure who he is yet. And I think the only way to know is to ultimately see where he ends up and what he continues to do. And he might end in a place where I still think he's at a fork, and I'm still not sure who he is or how I can interpret him. And maybe we'll get, a nice little outro, a 10 years later sort of thing that will, maybe collapse one of the possibilities. We'll have to see. I don't know. Give me 30 relationship roles. Right here, right now. Give them to me. Let's see. Cass laughs at something possibly skippable. Yeah, we'll skip that. So we're going to go to 210. Let's see. 210. All right. 21040. Love that. And then, all right. So back into the game. I think that's basically all I had on my mind at the very least. I'm trying to think of anything else. Age of Umbra came out today, and we're going to be doing the, not book club, I keep thinking about it as book club, episode discussion, episode breakdown on Wednesday. I haven't even seen it yet, so I don't even know how excited or not excited to be. I'm going to watch it later tonight. But get ready for that. And then we will be starting episode 85 of Critical Role on Friday. New arc. And I don't know. I mean, I will learn this because I make the thumbnails ahead of time. So it's Burgundy. And then it's not Burgundy all the way through. So there's 2 arcs left. But they also had some thumbnail color shifts within the Chroma Conclave arc. So I'm not necessarily taking that as like maybe what I consider an arc might have a thumbnail shift in the middle of it. Very possible. So we'll see. This is a short intro. It was indeed. I'm trying to keep it short. I'm trying to keep it contained, get better at that. And let's get into it.
Back in.
Oh, that's quiet.
Yes. After you got Carrick walk away, the city itself is kind of rigging its bearings. People are returning to the recovery process post-conclave. Iman's rebuilding and restructuring. What do you guys want to do?
Oh, man.
Did you retrieve your items, by the way, from the...
Yes, I did want to grab them from the temple.
Okay, yeah.
Unless they're like...
I assumed post-ritual you were going to just leave your favorite artifacts on the altar.
No! I mean, yeah, I got them.
And I flipped the Dragon Slayer longsword for the gloves of missile snaring.
Okay, so you've...
That was last night.
Traded out. Okay.
That was the thing.
Cool. What else would you guys like to do? What's your plan?
Well,
We do have like a grocery list of things that we can pick from, right?
I mean, we have a lot of stuff we need to do.
Ton of stuff we need to do.
Do we want to like make good on that promise real fast, or what?
Which one?
To bury
The like 8 ones
That's in
we have?
Vasselheim.
the thing under the tree.
That's in Vasselheim.
Oh.
We also have a hand to deliver.
Yeah, we have a
in,
hand. And
Marquette.
Rakshasa to kill. And tribe to
Hold off on that
visit.
one, I think.
Maybe we should start with checking in with home, seeing how the keep is. We haven't been home in a long time.
Oh, Grayskull?
We were just there.
Well, I guess we were just there.
Sometimes it depends. I don't make a habit to avoid or to look at them. like specifically. I avoid future ones, but in terms of the actual episode that I'm watching, I don't necessarily avoid or particularly focus in on. I did see loose ends, and I talked about it a little bit last stream as to what I think may or may not be happening. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities for Matt to transition into the last arc, no matter what they do. The only one where maybe I don't see as much opportunity is this fulfilling the promise to Senokir, go bury the ashes in Vasselheim thing. I'm not saying they shouldn't act it out, you know, but it seems... I don't know. It seems very low priority. You know what I'm saying? It seems very like... And I could see that going either way for them. I don't know. I think it depends on kind of how much them as players want to rest. Like if they are feeling restless or if they want to take a time skip. I don't know. We're going to have to see. I don't know.
I'm passing.
What are we like?
But
Well, we're all sore, right? And like we could knock the dust off a little bit if we just did like a little delivery of some final remains under a tree or a hand or
we
whatever.
just ended a threat to civilization. I don't feel like diving into the nine hells at the moment.
No.
Yeah, me
yeah,
neither.
not so much.
No, not really.
I'm tired.
Where's the hand going again?
Marquette.
Why?
Because we told them we would give them a hand.
Who'd we promise that to?
Heyo.
The Thieves Guild sort of thing there. The group of assassins.
Boring. Let's go to Vasselheim.
Right now?
Shouldn't we help with like making sure the council is like in place here? I mean, is everything solid here?
I mean,
That's the
you've been
case.
gone for a couple days and it's been moving. You could ask around if you want to try and get some information about the current circumstance.
Oh, I guess we could do that.
Just to make sure.
Maybe we should also check in with some of our other keep members and see who's alive and who's
Well,
dead.
the people you brought to Whitestone with you.
Yeah.
They've been there.
Oh, that's right. I totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's been a
keep-
while. It's been a year.
That's right.
How is Jarrett? Was he fine when we got back to Whitestone?
Jared is recovering.
Okay.
Is he come back with us or is he still in Whitestone?
No, Jared's still in Whitestone.
He's like,
He's
fuck
taking
you.
a
Jared's proud and excited about the things you've accomplished, but Jared needs a vacation.
He's got to find some drugs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not happy about that.
I remember.
But yeah, if you want to roll an investigation check. Thanks.
19.
Okay.
No,
Spending,
19.
spending the next hour or so asking around from various people, you don't come across any notable allies that you recognize, but the word is that the remaining bulk of the standing army of Iman and Fort Daxio, combined with the remnants of Singorn's army, half went back to Singorn, just in case. The other half remained to help with the relief effort here, as well as the clasp. The clasp is now bringing people they've been keeping underground and hidden back to their homes, back to their locations. And so it seems that the structure, for now, is focused on the relief effort and the returning of the city to its people. As far as the actual council structure, you don't hear anything yet on that point.
Okay.
To be fair, half the council was at Whitestone, and you haven't heard from any of the people that you knew on the council who came as part of the battle yet. So, what do you guys want to do?
We don't need to like check in with the class, do we, or anything?
They kind of have their shit that they're doing.
I feel like they're, we're fine, right? We're like,
We're solid.
I mean, I'm just going to throw this out. If we leave things as they are, the clasp are going to completely own the city. At some point soon.
Fucking thank God! Oh shit! Oh, a huge. I got so tense just now. My butthole clenched with the pressure to make a diamond. I was so prepared to crash out when Taliesin opened his dirty, lovely, beautiful little mouth. I am so happy. And I still might, to be clear. I'm still tense. But thank God, Vax. By the way, the one who has a brand on him and saved his sister from trafficking by the clasp. Just by the way. Thank God he piped up. Oh my God. Listen to Vax, please.
And we might want to get some of the council back here faster.
Well, Laura's here.
That's one, yeah.
Do we know where everyone else is?
Whitestone.
Well, the problem is, I mean, Uriel was killed when the dragons attacked. Nothing else was ever set in place after that.
It's true. Who was acting as
Sordak.
When Sovereign was slain, part of his instruction was to hand power entirely over to the council. So we are still the power structure of the city. It's more of a localized republic. We need to enforce that structure. While you take to what business you need, I'm going to try the best I can to amass the remaining members of that council and install some sort of political structure here now. Partly for the reason that you mentioned, and partly because, we don't want the military suddenly running the show either.
Right. So, just as a quick recap, he stepped down and kind of gave this whole speech that he sees the flaws in one ruler and wants to hand it over to a council rule.
He didn't want to be a tyrant with advisors. He wanted to have a council that best represented people's interests in power.
Right, but he essentially switched it from like a monarchy to a republic.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
And we have the rest of the royal family in Whitestone.
Yes, Solda and the children are currently there. We've kept them safe, and they will be given. Solda will most likely be placed on the council, as she has quite a bit of knowledge and experience as well, and to keep them.
Dude, that is actually interesting. When we were talking about some Daggerheart stuff during Age of Umbra and like the collaborative world building, a republic isn't necessarily democracy and vice versa. Correct, Belphegor, yeah. A republic is elected representatives, or is not necessarily elected representatives. A republic is the representatives part. A democracy is the people, the broad swath of society elects or votes for policies. The U.S. Democratic Republic is we elect representatives. So the republic is like the representatives half. The thing that is sticking out to me and why I related it back to Daggerheart is when we were talking about the collaborative world building in Daggerheart, I talked about it, at least in my interpretation, somewhat shoring up things that aren't, or that maybe a DM isn't as interested or doesn't jazz them as much to world build. So like for me, it might be factions or characters. For other people, it might be maps, locations, geographic features, etc. It is very interesting and I think somewhat telling, and I would really log this in the back of my mind if I was Matt, is that Vox Machina has had a really distinct opportunity to establish a government and a government structure and members of governments twice. They had it in Whitestone, and they have it now in Amon. Like, I truly don't think, I truly do think, if Vox Machina said, this is the government that you're going to have, this is how it is going to work, these are the people that will oversee it, I think everyone kowtows to that. But they seem wholly uninterested, and not just uninterested. I think I always kind of thought or knew that they were broadly uninterested in the more political machinations part of it. But the thing to me that is sticking out is they seem to have this priority of almost like non-interference. So like listening to that conversation, the way that it comes off to me, like they're caring about what Uriel wanted. And like, to be clear, Uriel was an incredibly weak ruler that nearly lost the entire country like 3 different ways to Sunday. His opinion should have basically no bearing on this. But it's interesting that they do care. They almost view like it's almost a Star Trek-esque mentality where they almost see like the adventuring world and the normal world. They're like a Watchmen type, or they kind of view themselves like a Watchmen type mentality where the dragons and the Chroma Conclave were an intrusion into Iman and into, you know, the normal life of its citizenry. You know what I'm saying? And their job is purely to excise and remove that sort of like existential threat. And then their priority is to like maintain what would have happened had that threat not existed. You know what I'm saying? Which is an interesting mentality. Again, it rings very Star Trek to me, of like, you know, the Prime Directive, non-interference. And so it's like they removed the threat that shouldn't have been there, and now they want to reestablish almost what would have happened, what would have been the natural flow had that threat not occurred, right? They're not saying, no, we should do it this way. They are saying, what were Uriel's wishes? Okay, so Uriel was transitioning it from a monarchy into a republic. Okay, that's good to know. How are you going to set that up? Which is very interesting. And it's definitely something I'm logging in the back of my mind because it's a strangely idealistic stance from Vox Machina, at least in the way that I'm reading it. This almost separation between like the more monstrous threats and the normal functioning of society. It's a very interesting dichotomy, you know? If Percy wanted, he could make a case to take power in Amon, and even VM would not have been able to argue against him because they support a monarchy in Whitestone. Absolutely. Absolutely, but they seem to just have very little interest. Very little interest in that. Yeah. And even like installing Cassandra as the leader essentially just maintains what might have otherwise happened had the Durolos never been ousted from power. Whatever Cassandra wants to do, right? Because they talked about, you know, establishing a council. You know, they talked about transitioning the government, but then they installed Cassandra. Clearly, they didn't care enough about that. They said, you know, whatever Cassandra wants to do. Because had Percy been removed, had all of the people died in the way that they did, Cassandra would have been the ruler. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Uriel was mind controlled twice. Not really something people can get good at. I would argue in a D&D setting, I think it is. Frankly. I mean, even the base level of like Riskel Daxio had anti-divination enchantments on his personal quarters. If Riskel Daxio, who by and large was a cult member and a pretty good architect, those were basically his 2 claims to fame. If he can have anti-scrying technology on his chambers, Uriel should have something to prevent him from getting mind controlled twice. Maybe once I can forgive, but twice. Come on, bro. And even then, again, he's the leader of a country, of seemingly the biggest contiguous country at least that we know of. I don't know about Wildmount. That has a lot of magic. Like the fact that they do not have. I'm not even saying that Amon should have been able to stand up to the Conclave, but they should have had some amount of defenses. Taldore seemed like kind of a fucking pushover. I'm gonna be real with you. I mean, the fact that they could basically act as vigilantes within fucking spitting distance of the capital, and he tried to reprimand them, and they still had like Tiberius fucking putting it back at him. Ooh. Nothing about him gave me strength. You know what I'm saying? Nothing about Taldore gave me like, yeah, this is a real strong leader that we can rely on. What are Uriel's politics? We don't know, but he did one good thing a monarch can do, get rid of the monarchy. True. He tried to do that, yeah. He did try to do that, yeah. All of this and that is a broad mandate. Yeah. Vox Machina want to drink, travel, and kill stuff. No interest in ruling. I think the thing that is standing out to me in this scene is not only that they have no interest in ruling, but that they don't even seem to have a distinct opinion on what manner of rule is right. Percy kind of has one that he has expressed, but they seem to value non-interference above any of their own political views. Like the ideology of non-interference over whatever particular opinions they might have. That's the thing that's standing out to me in this particular scene, which I think is very, very interesting. Prime Directive is good and all, but every season of Star Trek show it ignored it when it was convenient. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, positively. I agree. The Prime Directive mostly exists, I think, as a world-building construct to explain why there even can be. Basically, the Prime Directive exists as an answer to the Fermi paradox. If you know what the Fermi paradox is, which is essentially, if there are aliens that could reach us, why haven't they? I think the Prime Directive essentially exists as a world-building construct to answer that. Not as an actual rule that individual characters within the show have to follow. It's more of a world-building thing, at least the way that I interpret it. Yeah. There are rings that make you better at saves. I know. You used the word contiguous. I did not learn that word until my second time at college in my 30s. I like words. I sometimes wish that I was able to put my thoughts into simpler terms. And not, try to search for more specific words. But I really like words that have really specific meanings. I love that. I love the clarity in it. And it hurts me to not use a word that I view as more clear in its definition, but is actually less clear because less people know it. That pains me, but I wish I was better at it. Because it would actually get across my point more effectively a lot of the time. I think that non-interference is them basically saying Matt can do whatever he wants with the political side of things. It is. It's an interesting... It's so interesting to me. I've never played like that. I've never had a table that played like that. And it is a very fascinating thing for me to watch and ponder. And that's why I said this isn't like a critique of that. It is if I am Matt, I am like... I am looking at this and I'm like trying to log it in my memory of like, okay, this seems to be their general stance on things. And I'm thinking about, can I play that for any sort of drama or intrigue or interest? Like, could I use that sort of non-interference standpoint? Could I use that to to drive any interest? Sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought. Could I use that to drive any interest, or is that more of a meta construct, and if I draw too much attention to it, it will actually take my players out of the game? Because they are mostly doing it for, like, Doyleist reasons, right? They are mostly doing it for, like, out-of-game reasons, kind of like Teprock was saying. And if that is their primary reason for doing it, like that's like 90% of the reason they're doing it, then having any sort of drama that hinges on that non-interference is actually something I probably want to avoid, because they are doing it as a meta thing. And if I suddenly make in-fiction drama hinge on it, then they're saying, well, look, dude, we were only doing that because of X. You know, we weren't, that's not actually what our characters probably believe. We were just hand-waving it. So I'm definitely trying to log this in my memory and suss out, you know, how much of this is how their characters actually feel and how much of this is a, like, construct. To understand if I should have any drama hinge on it. Because I think it's an incredibly interesting thing to have drama hinge on, but only if their characters actually kind of believe it, you know? Let's see. Yeah. Anyways. How long has the Fermi paradox been around? Does this go back to TOS? I think it's been around for a long time. Oh, Fermi was a 20th century scientist. There you go. Pretty sure the solution to the Fermi paradox is space is large and loud. I think that's, you know, that's a solution. I think it depends on whether or not you find that solution convincing. And for a show in which faster than light travel is explicitly established, like that is the core magic, and I do mean magic in like a literal, like a D&D sort of sense. Like that is the magic system of Star Trek as a science fantasy show is one of its primary tenets is faster than light travel and how it works. And if you have that in there, it can really undercut the large part of large and loud, and make it not quite as convincing. And you know, the Prime Directive shouldn't be overly convincing either, given how often we see people break it. But the limitations on faster than light travel, coupled with the Prime Directive, coupled with large and loud, all work together as a solution to the Fermi paradox within the world of Star Trek. In my opinion, I should say. I have an intern working with me. When I have an intern working with me, the most important concept I try to get them to understand is words mean things. If you and the person you are talking about have different definitions of the same word, conversations get painful. When I was first starting at my first job, I was on a system that had one person on it before me, and I was basically backfilling them. So we were working on it for like a year, 6 months together, and then they would retire, and I would essentially backfill them as like the solo SME on that system. And one of the first things that guy presented to me, because he was at the end of his career, you know, lots of wisdom, he was passing it on, and one of the first things he presented to me was a sheet of terminology. He was like, here's a sheet of words. Some of them you will recognize. Some of them you will not. Here's what all of them mean in the context of when I use them at work or when I use them, you know, regarding our system that you're training to be the SME on. And one of the terms that was on there was SME, subject matter expert. Absolutely. Getting on the same terminology with people is very important. Especially if you're going to be using that terminology a lot. Yeah. Realistically, also, why should VM decide the government? 2 of them are political leaders, but most are just muscle. It's not necessarily... I mean, I think that is a good supporting argument for why they should have a policy of non-interference. I think that, you can say that they ought to have a policy of non-interference because most of them are not political leaders. Oh, we're having ads in a minute.
Ads incoming, take cover.
But just because they ought to do something does not mean that is actually what they will end up doing. There are plenty of things that Vox Machina ought to do or should do that they do not. So, I think that is an argument that they could give to defend their position, but I don't think it's an actual explanation of why they have that position, if that makes sense. Is it assume some form of... Yeah, I mean, that's fair, Teprock. I agree. The only difference between magic and sci-fi science is the presentation. Magic isn't presented as possible in our mundane world. Warp engines are. To a degree, yeah. I mean, I think that there is a little bit more nuance and granularity, but it's hard to fit the amount of nuance and granularity into one single chat message. With the... What's up? All right, we're back. Hello, and I'm gonna end that conversation there, and we're going to start up again.
And if we can recover his body or some semblance of it, I will also see that there is a monument built to the memory of the sovereign. So.
Yeah.
And you think you've got a handle on getting a foothold here?
I think if I can find one or two of my friends, definitely.
Do you need help in finding your friends?
Yeah. Your strengths are best tended to elsewhere.
Okay.
Don't worry. I know Mikhail is around, and me and him have a good rapport, and he has the military at his back. So, if anything goes south or wrong, I know how to let you know. So much as you stay on this realm, don't go vanishing to other planes without
No
letting me know,
Feywild?
please. Please, no.
Not for a bit.
Not for a bit. Laura, before we leave,
Yes.
will you take a look? I hand her the box of ashes that Seneca gave us. Do you sense any kind of aura coming off of this? Do you think it is what he said, just a box of his wife's ashes?
He takes the dark box, and it has like the small chained edges on each end. She inspects it for a moment. The box does have a very faint magical essence to it, but it appears to be purely protective. Not entirely certain if anything beyond that. It's very faint.
Okay, thank you.
Kima's with us, right?
Kima is kind of in the process of going around and gathering information and checking in.
I grab Vax and Vex really quick, and I say, hey, you guys are really good at asking people back for the stuff that we lent them. I feel a little, rude doing that, but you guys are good at that. So...
Oh, Kima!
The boots.
Hey, those boots!
See? There, you guys
What?
are good at it.
Hey, you know those boots you hate wearing?
Oh, they're fantastic. I love them.
Oh, shit.
It's unfortunate that they look a little iffy with your armor, though. I mean, just kind of... Can we have them back, please?
Yeah.
You might be sneaking around, in like life or death situations. And you're going to be here with the council.
You look
might
like a
Pike is
gladiator.
very clinky. No offense, Pike.
No, none taken.
I mean, you look like a badass gladiator in Yuletide shorts.
She holds her Avenger out in front of her and kind of checks the blade.
We did give you that.
You can keep it.
Fine. She bends down and kind of,
Hey.
Hey. Those are for you, man.
she's now barefoot in full armor. Kind of like wiggles her toes and kind of goes, sorry about that.
I can give her the shoes that I was wearing.
Wait.
Yeah, because you got Spanish boots on. You got Spanish boots on.
What boots are she giving me?
She's giving you the elven boots.
They're like stealthy
They're
boots.
stealth boots. They make you silent, yo.
Make you silent. And you don't have to attune to
for
them.
giving those back. Really need them.
She's staring at you.
You're great.
She actually laughs back at you and says, I know.
Kima, seriously though, you are great.
No. And she's been kind of a ball of intensity in a lot of this, and she's had frustrating moments in combat, and she's had earnest fear, and she's had her own journey with you guys from the beginning of crossing your paths, but she kind of walks up and
Look, we smoothed it over. We're cool now.
right.
In between salsa and
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah. Kima walks up and kind of places her hand on Ike's shoulder. You're a little bit shorter than her, and she kind of looks down at you. The rest of you is. You've done more than anyone ever asked you to do. You've done a lot of good things. For me, for Allie, for everyone. And I know I can be a pain in the ass sometimes. I know I be a little hot-headed.
Lies.
But I just... Thank you for letting me come along.
Yeah. Thanks for kicking ass with us.
We're not done yet.
We're not.
Of course not. What, you think we're like these class bastards start wandering this town?
Whew, thank goodness.
If you guys end up actually going back to Vasselheim, and Mr. Vord starts coming out asking questions, tell him you haven't seen me.
You got it.
Lie.
No. Just tell me you haven't seen me.
Well, I have seen you.
Tell him you haven't.
Well,
You are the cutest thing sometimes.
Stop! He's like the chihuahua with the bulging eyes.
Okay, Kima just goes. Kima walks past Pike and goes up and just kind of pats you in the chest. Goes, it's okay, big man. Forget I said anything. And then turns back to you and was like, I'm sorry.
we'll say the words.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, stay safe. And if you need someone to skull crack to, you're fine. She turns back and kind of runs after Allura, who's currently walking off to go ahead and find the rest of her connections in the city.
Oh,
What do you guys
That little face.
Talk to me.
Okay. Shit.
What easy thing could we accomplish?
I say we go to Vasselheim.
Well, wait, we're going to check in with our keep.
Yeah, let's walk to our keep
Walk to
and
the
then
keep.
If anything,
bounce out there.
because that means we came to Amon for nothing.
Yeah, pretty
We
much.
Go to our keep.
We made a double check.
Yeah, we had to like make sure everything was all right here.
It was a free ride.
Cool, to the keep.
And as I'm walking through, I kind of keep an eye out to see if there are any Ashari lingering around, but I'm sure they've all bounced at this point.
Okay, make a perception check.
All right. I'm gonna use my druid die. Oh, okay. Just straight perception, 26.
Okay. As you guys continue your way through the city and you keep an eye out, you don't see anybody with a Shari dress. You do see a handful of occasional bodies in a Shari dress.
Sure.
And you very carefully go and inspect. And while you recognize a handful, you didn't know them extremely well.
Yeah, I've been gone a while.
Older folks that you didn't connect with, but thankfully not Corin.
Okay.
But yeah, there is no walking presence here with the Ashari. You ask around a bit, and one of the guards is like,
They're supposed to be coming back here in a few days to gather the dead, but they went ahead and chased the rest of the Wyvern Riders up to the mountains. They're probably still at the Stormcrest.
So it's Stormcrest.
Probably.
Still fighting?
Well, at least picking off what they can.
All right, thank you.
Right.
If you see any of them, just let them know that Vox Machina passed through here and that we're all still alive.
will do. And keeps on walking.
Any bodies that I pass by that are Ashari, I kind of druid craft little flowers and do my own little rituals as I walk by.
Okay. You guys make your way through Amon. Eventually, the southern walls to the outside of Grayskull Keep. They're standing still, proud, undamaged in the fray. Still holding the fresh stonework crafted by your planar ally that you summoned quite some time ago.
You got remember a servant of Saren Ray came down and helped us rebuild?
Yeah, after the Vorgal fight that destroyed
Oh, that's right.
the temple and things. But yeah, the keep is still currently the front gates are open. As you walk in, it looks like since you were last there have been a few people that have come through and kind of looked for things. It doesn't like they were raided by thieves by any means, but it looks like anything that was left in the kitchen has been ransacked. Looks like tables and chairs in some bedrooms have been moved. Whether there be like briefly held up refugees from the city who've then gone back in, or people that just mosey through and left, but the place is still currently empty.
Eventually, we do have to hire some people.
Yeah, get this place lively again.
I think it looks nice. I mean, it's kind of like a lived-in look.
Rustic?
Yeah.
Once people are back in the city,
Minimalistic, no.
Yeah.
we can start to look for new hands, yeah.
I go through and just kind of use my gust cantrip and dust off some shelves and straighten some paintings.
I wonder if we should offer this up to the city, to the council, to house some refugees that haven't found homes again after they've been destroyed.
I'm fine with that.
Terrible idea at all.
It's not like we're going to be using it anytime soon.
Right.
It's a great idea.
Oh, we do tend to wander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll need to install the teleportation circle at some point, perhaps.
Should I run back and tell Allura that before we head out?
Yeah, and let me check on the garden too. Pike, do you want to join me?
I'll head off on the broom and try to find Allura to tell her what we just said.
It'll take you a couple hours to get there and hunt her down, but you do so. Let her know.
Go look at the garden.
Okay.
The temple.
How's it looking?
Garden's still kept.
Yeah?
The blessings placed upon it and the position of sunlight, a little overgrown, but flourishing.
Wow. Overgrown's better than dead. All
Yeah.
right, cool.
I like it a little overgrown.
It's nice. It's kind of rustic. Yeah.
Seems to be the word of the day.
Can I go down to Percy's room?
The workshop?
Yeah, the workshop.
Yeah.
Is the door closed?
It is partially ajar. It is dark inside. There is.
Fucking sweet. I'll go in.
Okay.
Is there any light inside?
There are a couple of small oil lamps that are hanging from the walls. They are not currently lit. And the forge is dark, cold. Most of the tools have already been stolen or taken. Anything that can be grabbed by hand is gone.
Are there any of those dangerous buckets of water around?
There are a couple, and it smells of stale hard water.
Treacherous. Don't really know what I'm looking for. Are there any, like, powders? Like, sacks of powder, or, like, little
Make an investigation check.
crates of powder, or... That's not terrible. 14.
You do find what looks to be a small, kind of brown wooden barrel-type container. It has a lid on it, but it's easy to pull off, and on the inside it has a familiar smell that you catch whenever you see Percy fiddling with his weapons. Sort of a dark, powdery substance.
Can I pour a little out?
Yep. Looks like soot or charcoal dust. Grainy like sand.
Can I have snuck down and be watching this?
Make a perception check.
That's pretty high. That is a 30.
Yeah, you totally saw Grog just stomp down into the lower area, so you can go ahead and...
Thanks.
No fire, dangerous water, no weapons.
Does not appear to be any weapons in the room. There are the racks where the tools usually hung on, you remember, but they're all gone.
Shit.
There's just nubs out of the wall.
All right, I'll turn around and I'll leave.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi.
Hey.
Oh,
there you are.
yes. Chased off yep,
What are you doing in there?
securing the castle.
In the dark room with nobody in it?
Yeah, no, there was a guy, right? And I was like, hey, you stop! And he was covered in this black powder, and he gave me the slip.
He ran out.
Yep.
That's who that was.
You saw him?
I did.
Why'd you
He
let him go?
was fast. I don't like to get in between you and the kill, big man.
I should go after him then.
You know, I just was looking for you.
Oh, I have a moment.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank you for working your magic yesterday again.
Me?
Yeah. You saved him. You saved him. You did good, Grog. I'm proud of you. And don't hurt me. I love you. Thank you. I slap him as hard as I can. And I use disengage and I fucking run like balls.
He's gone. The sting fades.
Huh. Okay.
So adorable.
All right, so you guys have checked the keep, secured it. Everything seems in the right place, given the circumstances. What do you want to do?
What time is it?
At this point, it's maybe early afternoon.
Oh, man.
Should probably head out then. I'm back, right?
You've returned. Yeah, by the time they've gone through and checked the whole keep, you made it to Allura and back. It's been a couple hours in the keep.
So, we're just going to go bury ashes in Vasselheim?
Check one off the list.
One a day.
No fighting?
What?
Vasselheim?
Yeah, we're not going to get into any fights, right?
Not if we can help it.
Okay.
That's the hope.
Just Grog.
Why are you making that face, Grog?
Don't hold my breath.
Why
Why
would you
holding
hold
your
your breath?
Hiccups? No fights at all. Like, what if we run into bad people?
If we run into bad people, we can fight them.
Can I roll a perception check on his hands?
You know what? What's your passive perception?
18.
Don't make him roll. Make him roll for it.
He wasn't actively looking. He doesn't normally check for your hands, Grog, but he's a perceptive guy. And there is indeed a very dark, familiar residual on the hands, forearms, and a little bit on the top of the cheek,
Right.
Grog.
Good to know.
It's like an 8-year-old with chocolate.
I know.
I didn't get into it.
No unnecessary fights.
No necessary fights. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, the crucible is there.
I'm only saying.
Well, that's not unnecessary.
Wait, he said we can't open the box, right? Or did he say?
He didn't say.
Dude. I don't know if you guys see me, or if I know some people only listen, they don't watch. I've been typing some shit in the notes, and that maybe I'm overinflating how rare it is for Matt to use passives. I know that he has used them before. Yeah, and Belphegor just mentioned one of the times. I know that he has used them before, but he's so rare, in my head at least, and I'm trying to think if he has ever used them in PvP. Because they do, PvP jokey stuff relatively frequently. And I'm trying to remember if he's ever used it during one of those. And at least it doesn't feel to me like he has. My memory's not the best, so I'm just going to have to go with my intuition. And there is this, I don't know how to say it other than like an almost uncanny valley type feeling that I feel like is being established here, where I don't know quite what it's trying to model. right? I don't want to make too much inference, or I don't want to infer too much, but it's giving me an almost like, I don't want to be too serious, but it's giving me an almost like PTSD type tone, of like, they're just like wandering around and, you know, they keep like kind of like getting this energy up and then it kind of deflates and they get a little bit of energy and then they kind of, like they don't, it's like they have been springs that are constantly in and out of tension, constantly. And they have had a little bit of time for a break, right? That little bit of uncoiling, right? They sprung and then they've got a little bit of a break. And it feels like all of them are just like wired to expect to need to go back under tension. Like I feel this, I don't know, this sense and I think that Matt is, I don't know quite what he's doing. Like, I don't want to say that he's trying to establish this tone or that tone, or he's trying to go for this feel. I don't know quite what he's going for, but it feels like he's going for something with, I brought it up a couple times, the Raven Queen comment about how she wouldn't have let Scanlan come back if there wasn't still like a purpose and a use for him. She, Kima saying, hey, we're not done kicking ass yet. And they go, what? And she goes, yeah, the class people. And they're like, oh, right, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then this of like, normally there's a PvP, and we roll primarily, not primarily, but we roll in D&D more at a higher density of real life time during combat, right? Like, even out of combat, we are still rolling. We're rolling for skill checks and etc. We're rolling less. In combat, we're not using passives. We're rolling, and it seems almost as if by forcing him to use the passive, it is Matt just hitting them over the head with we're in peacetime. I'm not even going to have you roll. There's nothing for you to be tense about. There's nothing for you to be stressed about. There's no reason that you couldn't take your time. Right? Because rolling is mostly not mostly, I should say, but it's when there's a chance of failure, and a lot of times there's a chance of failure because you have to rush it, right? Because you have to try and do this thing within a short period of time. If you could take your time, you would probably just be able to do it, but you have to do it right now. And it's so, and Travis's response of, come on, you're not even going to make him roll for it? He's like, it feels like he's like, no, come on, I want to be in that combat. What are we doing? Why aren't we in there? And I can't, I can't make like a cohesive argument around this. It's just this feeling of tension that I feel like is growing, where they don't feel quite settled in peacetime. And Matt is doing things that simultaneously hit them over the head with the fact that they're in peacetime, and simultaneously kind of stoke their anxiety a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It feels like he's trying to stoke that anxiety that, yeah, something is wrong. Yeah. Don't get too comfortable. But you should be comfortable. You should feel comfortable. But don't get too comfortable. I don't know. It's so But I also don't know how much of it is purposeful. I don't know if that's exactly what Matt is going for, or if it is just a factor of Matt also feeling this way. Like, I can't tell if this is a purposeful tone and theme that Matt is actively working towards establishing, or if this is just how Matt feels and it is coming out in his DMing and his choices. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell if this is a pervasive feeling and zeitgeist around the table that is just affecting their decisions, or if this is a purposeful establishment by Matt. Either way, it's so interesting and it's making me feel some sort of way. But it's I can't tell how intentional it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Can't always know for certain that he doesn't use passives. A lot of times you can do the calculation internally and say you notice XYZ instead of asking for their number first. That is true. That is true. Yeah, we don't know how often he's using their passives. That is accurate. That is true. Yeah. But even we can then say he doesn't ask for their passives very often. If he has the capability to, if he knows their passives and is using those like in internal calculations and is not actively narrating it, then we can at least say that he doesn't ask for their passives very often, which shows that there was a chance of failure, but that they passed it for some reason. Like, it shows that there was an optionality there. Whereas if you just use their passive but don't narrate it, they don't even know that, had they been less skilled, there was a chance they wouldn't have passed the check, essentially. So even just narrating out loud is a whole separate thing, which I will do both. I will sometimes ask them and sometimes not, depending on exactly what I want to evoke. Sometimes I want them to know that there was a challenge because that is something that their character would know. Like, if they have a really high passive perception, let's say, and they see something that is hidden, and I just give it to them because of their passive perception, in those cases, I might want to ask them what their passive perception is, even if I know it. Even if I have it written down behind my screen, I might still ask them purely to communicate that this is very well hidden. I want them to say the number out loud so that it communicates to them and everyone else at the table this was something that was very well hidden. Because that is something that their characters would probably know or be able to, intuitively grok, that it might take a lot of explanation, or narration from me to like communicate in an equally dense way, or an equally effective way, I suppose you might say. Yeah. Passes are underused on paper, but they are also weird in a few ways. Why is it so easy, roughly 50% of the time, for you to be worse at something when you're actively trying? Yeah, I mean, I've always said I think passives are for when something, when you are not actively trying to do something. That is when I choose passives, which is what you're saying is like, why would you be worse at it? I think if I had to make an argument, I'm not even sure that I necessarily believe this, but I'm going to make an argument for why that would be. When you are just acting on instinct, you can sometimes, or I could argue, again, I don't know if I necessarily believe this, that you could interpret it as essentially like the yips, or like you psyching yourself out, when you're actually actively trying. It's also, I think more broadly, when you are actively trying to do something, it is often in a very different situation than when a passive is used. A passive is used typically in situations of less stress, situations where you wouldn't be as, distracted. So part of the failure rate of an active check is also modeling the situations and the broad circumstances that an active check would be used in. I do think it's really important as a DM for you to have a philosophy about when you ask for a check and when you use a passive, because of kind of this factor. Like, because if you use them interchangeably in the exact same situations, it can be very strange. Like, it has some very odd implications. Whereas if you use them in exclusively separate situations, then the weirdnesses between them when you compare them can go to characterizing the situations. That would be my argument. I'm not sure how fully I believe it. I kind of think I really like passives, but I kind of wish they were either slightly clearer or maybe a little bit more in depth. But I think they're fine overall. Yeah. Oh yeah, Belphegor. Yup, they definitely do. Yup. The characters have been fighting for their lives for months of in-game time without any real time to relax. It's reasonable for them to feel jumpy. Exactly. And I can't tell if Matt is stoking that feeling or if he also just feels jumpy and that's like coming out in his GMing. I don't know. I'd love to know if it was an intentional choice. I'd really love to know. I agree. Yeah. To me, it's just anti-metagame proofing. Percy wouldn't actively be looking for this. It's the quintessential passive check. The weird part is how he never uses it normally. To be very clear, I fully agree. I think this is maybe a textbook case of when to use a passive check. I 1000% agree. And I also agree that, yeah, Matt generally underutilizes passives, yeah. I've never considered asking even if I don't need the number. I'll have to mull on that. Yeah, it's essentially weaponizing metagaming, essentially. Or not weaponizing. I guess, what would the tool? It's not a weapon, it's a tool. Toolarizing. Weaponizing really just flows. It is using meta knowledge as a tool to efficiently communicate in-fiction knowledge. And how comfortable or not your players are with that is definitely a table-by-table consideration. I asked my player what their passive is. I have them written down to build real-world tension in dangerous areas. Yeah. 50% feels way too high. Yeah. Yeah. I can't give too robust of a defense of it, yeah. The argument about differing circumstances hits better for me. Got to think about it more to see where I land. It's at least not immediate rejection. Yeah. And like I said, I would prefer some revamping of the passive perceptions, or the passive scores, but I don't even really know how I would revamp them. So it's not something I have a lot of like things that I can say. I can argue in a few different directions, but I can't say exactly where I land on it. I think passive strength is really underutilized. Things like lifting or pushing or jumping can sometimes be resolved by simply looking at the number values defined. Totally agree. Utilizing is a good word. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if we're really getting down into it, I think part of the reason that strength passives or athletics passive, whatever, is underutilized is partially because of the fact that those skills get rolled less often. Like, I think one of the reasons that perception is like the most utilized passive score is because, number one, it's intuitive as to like what passive perception even is. Oh, how are your passives calculated? 10 plus your modifier. So if you have a +5 to the roll, your passive would be 15. 10 plus the mod. But I also think that passive perception is so used because perception comes up so often, right? And I think that people like to roll, and people think that other people like to roll, right? We all like the little math rocks, right? And so I think strength is not going to get used as often because it comes up less often. And so there's an assumption that like, oh, this is the one time that, or, you know, this is one of the few times that strength or specifically athletics is coming up. We don't just want to resolve that with a passive. Like, let's get a roll in there. So I think, you know, I don't know that you could say with certainty how often that factor defines things, but I do think it's a factor in depressing the amount of times that passive strength is used. Yeah. With math. What will the schedule for next week be again? Wednesdays, Age of Umbra. Friday, Monday, Critical Eyes. Starting the episode on Fridays. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, basically. With the ends of the week being Critical Role and the middle of the week being Age of Umbra. And yeah.
Not too.
It seems a bit disrespectful.
He said it was his wife's ashes, after all.
I know. Okay.
Why would you want to? Do you not like?
Do you not trust it?
No, I just want to know for sure.
I think didn't we kind of look before?
We didn't.
We thought the same thing. And
Did we look though? Did we
I
look
don't recall
before?
you looking in.
Not in the, but didn't we do an inside check and?
And I mean, I had Allura look at the box.
Right.
She said it had a faint magical aura of protection.
But it was protection.
Did you shake it like a
Maybe it's
Yuletide
just-
present?
No.
Maybe it's actually somebody requesting that we do something that is nice then, which I feel like never happens.
From what I remember from I can look, right? From Sinecure, because didn't I do an inside check?
I would love the notion that the
And
one
it's
time
just
we actually
fairly
follow through
cool.
with this very simple and basic thing that we have to do.
We
Everything
plant the
goes to
seed
shit.
of a demon
Lovely.
spawn.
Very us.
Oh, then
wait,
this
city
time
brass,
everything
city
goes
This time everyone goes to shit because it's one like purely altruistic thing that we do.
Okay, hang on. Give me a second.
No, these are amazing.
His wife's name was Zofin.
I'm just turning dice over and over.
Sinicure's wife's name was Zofin. Zofin?
Zafin.
Zofin?
So fine. Why don't you check it?
It's fine.
Nope, that's all I got.
Just do it.
I feel like I remember.
What are you guys doing?
I think we're going to take. I think we should make a tree and head in that direction.
Well, we already have a tree, but yeah.
All in favor of jumping through that tree?
Make like a leaf. Wait, make like a tree and leave. That's what
Yeah.
Ask him.
Has Vox already checked for traps?
You don't know.
Can I check it for traps?
Make an investigation check.
Okay.
Should we scoot this forward a little bit?
As you guys are walking up, heading your way up into the temple area, with the singular used for transportation 4, Pike is just holding and inspecting the box as you walk.
I got an 8.
What are you doing, Pike?
It's hard to tell. Looks pretty safe.
Do you not trust it?
I just don't trust anybody anymore.
Man, I know what that's like.
Okay, I'm not gonna. Okay, let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
Get like so on your mind.
I just feel like this is just something fishy about it. It just seems too easy. You know?
Too simple?
Too simple.
For us?
Just to take a box and go bury it? Why couldn't he do it? I know we already talked about this.
Well, wasn't he kind of stuck in the fireplace?
Yeah, he's not like allowed.
Yeah.
All right.
He's not? He's not allowed? I don't remember him saying that.
I might have made that up.
He said he'd been intending to make a trip to Vasselheim to bury it himself, but he hasn't had the time or the ability to do so.
Which seems odd, right? I mean, it is his wife's ashes.
Oh man, you guys, I thought this was something sweet and we weren't going to question it.
Yeah.
Now
You're
we're
right,
making it
yeah.
complicated.
Are we saying
You're
that
right.
there's
We're
no
thinking
one in
too
the world
much.
who's truthful?
I don't know anymore.
Well,
we are all
some
too
people-
scarred and damaged.
Some people are truthful, but I mean, Seneca did want to make us his slaves. Let's just put that.
We were all on board for this until 20 seconds ago when we started questioning it.
I'm sorry.
I could be saving our lives right now.
Or I could be killing all of us.
Well, the bottom
Mike's
line
saved our
is,
lives several times.
he's probably never gonna know.
What if I just take a peek?
Vax.
Oh wait, that's a good idea.
Or like open it to a mirror.
Oh, taking a peek? Or
I mean, she is quite holy, right? Like, if anyone was going to look on those sacred remains, at least it would be all.
I mean, it
stinking
does have a
here.
magical aura of protection, so it might be.
I'm like,
my
Courtney.
backfire.
Can I? I'm not gonna open it. Can I look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I look for locks or traps?
Well-
And traps. I'm not opening it.
Look for traps?
Yeah. Ooh. That is a. That is a 22,
22. It is not trapped.
and I don't know if it's locked.
Go ahead and make a roll to see if it's locked.
Ooh, that's even better. That's a 30.
So, it is locked. There are 4 individual locks on each side.
4 locks.
And it appears that there is some sort of a usually when something has a little bit of give against the chain, the box has none, and that usually either means it's adhered or it's sealed magically.
Pickle, I will help you if you want, but my gut is telling me that this is just his wife's ashes.
Shake it and listen.
I second that.
Make a perception check.
I put my hands up.
This is the
walk a
worst
little
thing
bit away.
30 again.
You hear what sounds like the very gentle sifting of some very, very light particles inside of a box.
What do you think?
I think he's telling us the truth.
Vax, you're like the Raven Queen is like your girl.
Yeah.
Can you be like, there is remains in here?
Okay, why don't you both just ask,
Yeah, like, yo,
Can I
is this
tell
your
them?
significant
Kitty
others?
Dada?
Yeah, can you hide your cleric if you're that concerned? Man, this seems so extravagant.
I mean,
guys.
it's yeah. Is there
How paranoid has everybody
I'm
gotten?
gonna use my paladin powers. There's nothing undead in there.
Divine intervention.
Okay, so you
Wow,
use your
I'm getting that
Divine sense, yeah.
divine sense.
Yeah.
You do not get a fiendish or undead
Yeah, man.
aura
This
from
is
the
just
box.
so guys. Why you
What if we bury it and then it turns into like something crazy?
What have you been reading?
When he told us it was his wife, we all went, oh, when that happened. No more questioning.
You know what? I just realized he asked them to bury it at the Abundant Terrace, right? Do I have Senokir? Oh no. Sen? O? Oh god, how did I spell it? Is it in here? Is it 74? I don't remember where I wrote it down. But essentially, right, Senokir, he asked them to bury it at the Abundant Terrace. Which, you know, hearing that out loud, I am kind of like, why is it abundant? You know what I'm saying? Why is the terrace so abundant? It could just be Ep76. I'm going to assume that it's the Abundant Terrace where he wants them to go and bury it. 'Cause that's what I remember. Oh, right, because I thought it was maybe a bomb that was going to blow up Vasselheim's entire food supply. Now, something I don't think I theorized, but that would make some sense. Let's assume that it is actually just his wife's ashes. Like, why do the terrace be so abundant? You know what I'm saying? Could just be the name. Isn't the Abundant Terrace a temple to Melora? I think it's in Melora's section of town, but it's like an orchard. It's like an orchard, farm, plantation inside of the city. It's where they always like teleport into when they use Keyleth's Tree Stride, but they kind of have to hide it because that's not super cool to do. So, what if, in the same way that, like, Raven Queen's area, I can't remember what her area of Vasselheim is called, but it has, like, a name. And it has, like, an anti-undeath, like, charm or, like, you know, enchantment or, I guess, zone permeating it. I wonder if Melora's area, or at least the Abundant Terrace specifically, has like a life-giving enchantment to it. And they probably, you know, don't let any of the citizenry have fucking access, because I wonder, if you were to bury a body there, or in this case, ashes, would it reanimate them? I don't know. I could see that being a thing where this is like, you know, this ground and this area is enchanted with all of this life-giving essence. I could see, I mean, they're not zombie plants if they come from a seed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder, okay, now this is a little gross, but I feel like, you know, possibly if you were to, like, you know, like, sperm into into the ground, if you were to come into the ground, like maybe something would happen. I don't know. Maybe that's how Vasselheim repopulates with all of its, with all the people that die to the megafauna of Othansia. Look, I don't know. I think it's possible is all I'm saying. And so potentially, but I feel like if that were to be the case, it would be very regulated. And so potentially Senokir knows, but he needs Vox Machina to go and do it for him. I don't know.
But that's what a shyster does. You know?
So hardened by the war.
They tell you things to make you feel bad, to buy their magazines.
I mean, we have been
You know?
It's getting weirdly personal.
Who is trying to sell you magazine subscriptions? Who?
Just
What should
everyone.
high schooler hurt you?
Everyone in the
We just
mod.
felt right shot. I don't blame this.
Everyone in Whitestone. You guys haven't been there long enough.
Pickle.
Yes.
There is a fucking tiger-faced demon who wants both you and I dead. We have bigger problems than this man's wife.
Pike, we have to
Whoever
sail
sold
the
the
ocean.
subscription to highlights.
I know. All right, let's go bury the,
But you carry it.
I'll carry it.
Pike,
I'll carry it. I pop it under my arm. Let's go.
Okay.
I just want to let you know. I feel you.
Okay.
But I'm trying to make this our first step into being a more positive Vox Machina.
Okay.
What's wrong with your face?
This is me forcing a smile.
I think it is.
There's pain under here. That's why it looks like that.
Right.
You're not supposed to say all those things.
Sorry. All right. I'm supposed. Those emotions,
Yeah.
right?
I'll
All
support
right.
it.
No, things are great.
In or out.
Yeah.
That's
No, things are good. Yeah, that's how normal people
We
talk,
just
right?
bury
Things are
it.
great.
We just bury it under a tree. That's it.
Oh, we
In the tree.
We got her name, right?
Yes.
Make her a little tombstone. We'll do a whole thing then.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole thing. We'll bury
The whole
it.
thing, we're gonna make it nice.
Genuinely
No, that'll be
great about
beautiful.
everybody.
It's our wrong few days.
Genuinely
Put
great.
plastic lines all over it.
Bada bing, bada
Man, the
boom.
Conclave arc is taking its toll on Vox Machina.
Take it on.
We're all huddled around a box, just like freaking out right now.
Vex just draws on that box.
Yeah, one little fucking box. Reveal your secrets.
So, Keyleth.
All right.
You know what? I feel at least a little bit justified that they're all calling it out, because I was like, I don't think I'm crazy. I don't think I'm making up this like jumpiness and this tension. I'm glad. I'm glad that they all feel it and are calling it out. And they didn't even need to call it out. I'm just glad I'm not going crazy at like interpreting their nonverbal signals. But yeah, man, I mean, Matt said it, the Chroma Conclave arc, which is also where Hodis came back, right? That's where they encountered multiple shapeshifters. Like, yeah, they've been through a little bit of shit, especially in terms of the trust variety.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, so what are you connecting to?
Huh? What?
The other side of the
The other side of the tree. Where are you sending? Like you have many options at your disposal. You have the outskirts of the city. There's the lush forest, or the Vesper Timberland.
He told us where
There's-
to bury her, right?
These are the Abundant Terrace, which you
Yeah,
have
but let's-
passed by.
I have passed by?
We should stick to the outside of the city, right? Because of the
the-
magical laws there.
Well, the
Abundant
Abundant Terrace is a very heavily wooded area.
Oh,
right.
And
On the
magical
outskirts.
laws are more about rampant arcane casting. Divination and divine magics generally fall more into the territory of respect, as long as they're relatively controlled and not a grand display of power.
solid.
So the Abundant Terrace is a forest on the outskirts of the town?
The Abundant Terrace is Melora's section of the city.
Melora?
Oh, right,
It's
right,
where it's a district that has maintained magical fertility for growing crops and plants, and it's basically where a lot of the food.
Magical fertility, you say? I wonder what else it helps grow. That term, Matt. Fertility, you say? Dude. Oh no, I had a terrible thought. I don't know if I can say it out loud. Okay, I did. Yep. Nope, we're not. I've already gone too far today. The Abundant Terrace is Melora's section of the city. So I was incorrect. I don't know if this is a retcon or if I'm just remembering incorrectly. I thought it was a segment of Melora's section, but it sounds like it just is the Melora section is in the Abundant Terrace. Dude, imagine that Senokir's wife is the fucking priestess that Raishan killed that had the fucking soul curse and shit. Oh, man. Vox has a history with cursed items. They do indeed. After what happened with the Sun Tree, with the Briarwoods, and the Ziggurat, I can see them being scared about putting things in the ground. I'm saying, dude. I don't think... I think that they're playing it very well. I think it is perfectly reasonable to be suspicious of this box and of this request, while simultaneously role-playing of, this guy helped us. I think that the character work is really good right now. I would be personally suspicious, but I do really like the kind of, not tangent, but the side of things of guys, have we really gotten this paranoid? I would, if I was in character, I would argue, oh, this isn't paranoia, blah, 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 blah. But I think that's a great character position to come at this dramatic sequence with. I really, really like it. I jumped in, the first thing I heard was magical fertility. I'm just saying that there's another thing that we use the word fertility for that is not plant related. And he just said, this is an area of magical fertility. It is used to do all this plant bullshit. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
For Vasselheim has grown.
What was Senokir again? What was his ass? Was he the Ganassi or was that someone else? Was he the Ganassi? Senokir. I can't believe that Senokir is not coming up when I type in Seno. Just wait till we get to the sex pollen episode. he's the Ganassi? Okay. I mean, that would kind of track. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's the Senokir's shop is the Flame Garden. Okay. The box contains the ashes of my late wife, Zofin. I've kept them for years and had been intending to make a trip to Vasselheim to bury it beneath... I'm sorry! You want them to bury it beneath the birth heart? Is that what you want, Senokir? Interesting. Where she once lived, toiled as a girl. I would hope that you do this. I would consider our pact complete. Bury it where the nature's roots touch the soil. She died 4 years ago. She died 4 years, 2 months, 6 days ago. Okay, actually, that's actually good to know. That could mean... Wait a second, hear me out. The only other temple to Melora that we have ever heard mentioned is from Raishan's backstory. Huh. And that 4 years timeline, or no, this doesn't make any sense. Because they locked Thordak in the fireplane. Oh, excuse me. They locked Thordak in the fireplane 15 years ago, correct? Wait, I have his timeline, don't worry. Thordak. I have a timeline to answer this specific manner of question. Thordak's history. Oh, wait, what? See the full timeline. Where is it? Related historical events. The fall of Amon. Thordak begins building something. The Arcana Panasophical traps Thordak in the elemental plane of fire. We know that Raishan got cursed before that happened, because she was already cursed when Thordak met her, which was too long ago. That was 15 years ago. So if Senokir is telling the truth about when his wife died, then she couldn't have been. I was maybe thinking that his wife, Zoffin, was possibly the high priestess that soul cursed Raishan. But the timeline doesn't match up unless Senokir is lying about when she died. But I didn't get the... I didn't, and I don't think Vox got the impression that he was lying about that. So... So not that. Okay. But I still think the garden might fucking resurrect her. I don't know. I think there's a chance that it resurrects her. That's what I think. We're gonna see.
Perfect. Farming district. Okay. Is there a tree there?
There are a number of trees, actually. And a number of the homes are actually built in
in trees. That's cool. Sick. I want a tree house. Okay. And you said it's safe. This isn't arcane. It's natural. And since Melora, I'll probably be okay.
It's
people aren't gonna look at us weird when we come out of a tree on the other end.
I mean, when you come out of a tree.
It's interesting because Matt explicitly said that they did need to hide it the other times that they've gone there, which is interesting. I wonder if someone theorized that the different types of teleportation magic might be affected differently by Viscons. And I said, I think it's all teleportation magic. I think it just depends on like incoming or outgoing. But if they are correct about that, if it was that like Keyleth's nature magic was treated differently than Allura's like teleportation or teleportation circle, then that could have prompted Matt to rethink how he thinks about Keyleth's magic and potentially give him a different perspective on how the people of Vasselheim would view things. Because it seems as though he was previously interpreting natural magic as less divinely oriented and more like primordially, arcanely oriented. But it seems like he might have reversed that decision with the working in of Melora and Melora, being the nature goddess. I'm pretty sure he's always implied the arcane divine split around Vasselheim. No, absolutely. I'm saying before he told them when they used Tree Stride to get into Vasselheim via the Abundant Terrace, he told them it was something they would have to hide because it would be interpreted as arcane magic. Like that teleportation would be interpreted as arcane aligned, and that is illegal. Or that is, heavily, heavily discouraged. But now it seems as though he is interpreting Keyleth's Tree Stride as on the divine side of that split. And that, I think, is a retcon. I think that's like a full-on retcon. So, yeah. Totally forgot that Monday's now Cry Day. 2 hours behind at 2x. Will I catch up? Maybe. I don't know. You might. Is it just a tree? The birth heart sounds like a sacred tree to Melora. I wouldn't consider that normal just on those grounds. Did I say it? Oh, I think Ross was joking. I think Ross was joking, but I could be incorrect. I don't remember him ever saying that about the tree teleporting in Vasselheim. I would have to go back and find it. But it was one of the times that they went there. I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe it is in the episode. You know what? I might be able to find it. We're making good time. It's in the episode after, or one of the few episodes after Omens. It's when they go to Vasselheim there. So probably Return to Vasselheim, if I had to guess. And If I search terrace within the transcript, I bet we can find it. Terrace. Abundant Terrace. I'm going to the pub. Yeah, the Abundant Terrace area. Yep. Are you coming to the pub? No, I'm going to go help. Let's see. We'll meet you at the pub. I'll go with Scanlan Grog. I'm going to go get a drink. Broomstick needs bang. While they're buying powder, I'm going to go get a fucking drink somewhere. Okay, so this is before. Let me see. Can we do tree? We used to be taught that if you're ever lost in the forest, hug a tree. This ale is our tree, dude. I forgot about how they got here, man. I don't know. Maybe I could search it off stream, but it's one of the times that they go to Vasselheim. But it's not the first time, because the first time they travel there by airship, but it's post her getting tree stride. The rematch. The rematch. I don't know. I'll look for it off stream and maybe I'll find it. Maybe I won't. It's not that important overall. We do have an ad, though, in like a minute. We have an ad in like a minute. And
ads incoming. Take cover.
And I don't think I can make it go faster. So I guess we're here. We're talking to each other. We're chilling out a little bit. Maybe I can, let's see. Welcome to tonight's episode of Critical Role. Maybe it was in the previous one. Everything through the filter. You look so different. I do like your shirt. Let's see. Having recently suffered their main, the Chroma Conclave, they managed to save a few allies. Whitestone. After that, the party made their way to Vasselheim. Okay, so it was previous episode. So 43. We'll see if I can find it before the ad break.
Hello?
Because then it would be like basically right at the end of this. Let's see. Terrace. Oh, I don't have the transcript pulled up. Let's see. It's a thing to keep me busy. There's the Abundant Terrace. We'll teleport to the outside of the city and perhaps sleep at the temple. What's up? What's up? I was searching for, I could have sworn I remembered Matt saying that tree stride, like if they got seen tree striding into the Abundant Terrace, it would be a problem. But I might just be wrong. I might have just made that up. I don't know. I definitely thought it was there on one of the times that they did it, but I couldn't find it quickly, and it's not important enough to search for in detail, at least on stream. So we're going to watch.
People probably look at you weird anyway.
Sure. Do people bury their dead here?
Twice.
You don't know. Roll history check.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Steve.
But didn't he say that she was like from this area? Sophine was from.
I'll join in that history check because this is bothering me.
Zafine.
Zafine was from this area.
Apparently, yes. This is where she came from. What he told you.
We both did history check.
Yeah,
It's 15.
26.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I mean, usually the dead are interred in specific graveyards. Some people do prefer to have, their ashes spread in places that were important to them. It's just a general, request. But the Birth Heart or the Abundant Terrace are not areas that are, designated for interring the dead. So it is a special request.
Okay, I have a thought.
Oh no.
What if we do bury this where he's asked, but we put it inside of something that deters magic?
Like
What?
I don't know, like we find a container or something. I was just a thought. Isn't there things like that? Like a chest or something that dispels magic, so that if he is trying to do something nefarious, then we keep him from doing that.
So you want to go find an arcane shop?
Like a
to find
container
a very expensive
store.
container.
This seems really out of the way.
How about we
a
just
simple
ask a few
burial?
questions to see if anyone remembers his wife and see
Hey! Yes.
I like
maybe
it.
she left some sort of connection to the city.
Could you cast Speak with the Dead on ashes?
Oh my god.
Yes, but they just say.
That's probably
It's like baby powder.
We saved the world, but we are still a bunch of assholes.
Let's just let it go then.
Yeah, let's go.
Corpse still requires the mouth to speak.
Let's get over there.
Those are assholes.
Doesn't work. All right, so
The Cave of
what are we doing?
Wonders, Sand doesn't come up.
What am I doing?
You guys are going to come popping out within the city? Abundant Terrace?
Abundant Terrace!
Abundant Terrace Ho!
All right.
We'll decide when we get there.
The tree.
We'll have 6 seconds to think about it.
Vox Machina, be an idiot!
The tree in the temple spreads open into the familiar oval or diamond-shaped entryway.
Yeah.
On the opposite side, you see the cold landscape of, or at least the cold sky of Vasselheim. Though surround you, it is just verdant green. You can see moss and bushes and grass and a number of tree trunks around you. You can see a very clear-cut path that walks through, like an intentional park walkway. As you all emerge, you find yourself looking up into the relatively gray, heavily cloud-covered sky, and it is very cold. You watch as very, very faint snow just drifts to the ground, but it doesn't touch. It immediately just evaporates before it hits the ground. It seems either the warmth of the area or an enchantment of some kind is resistant to the weather of this northern continent.
Can I do like a quick nature check to see if this is like a mystical realm or if they've done something naturey to make it?
Nature check.
Check.
22.
22. The snow would usually touch the ground and then slowly turn to water and melt if it was just difference in temperature of the ground. However, the snow never reaches within a foot. It just kind of drifts and then. So it does appear to be an enchantment or some sort of magical essence to the Abundant Terrace itself. But you are surrounded by, you're like in the center of a forest that has very beautifully kept walkways in a grid-type pattern. And you do see some people that are walking through, a couple hand in hand, almost like they're just on a stroll, kind of bunched furs around their shoulders. You can see a little ways down, the trees stop and it opens up into what looks to be an expansive farmland. Rows and rows and rows of various crops that are perpetually being planted, pulled up, and harvested. There is no harvest season in Vasselheim because of the enchantment of the Abundant Terrace. It is perpetually fertile and bearing.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So, and like you haven't done a full pass this area, but it's not densely populated. It's a lot of people that come here either are working the land, keeping the land, or are enjoying the change in scenery from the rest of what can be sometimes a more, I guess you would say, gray and expressionless landscape that some parts of the city tend to hold. But here you are in the Abundant Terrace. What do you want to do?
Okay, I remember he said he wanted us to plant the box under just a tree?
Was it the
So bury it beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace.
The birth heart.
That is not a random tree.
Is that couple pretty close?
Yeah, they kind of walk by and like we see the two. They both appear to be human. The one with like darker hair, it's braided and pulled around one side. The man's a little older, dark beard that kind of goes to gray around the mustache and the chin. Dark hair that's kind of just slicked back and it's kind of long in the back with their furs around their shoulders. And she has her arm around his arm and they just kind of walk past and kind of glance at you with a, they just walked out of a tree.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Do you guys live here, or are you just passing through or checking out the town?
We live in the Quadroads. We are just out here for a walk.
Beautiful place.
Oh man, I do think nature being magically blocked in an area of the god of nature is quite ironic, especially in a very religious city. I actually think it is an incredibly not to get too contentious, possibly, but I actually think that is possibly intentional, possibly not intentional, a very poignant commentary on religious structures and how they might differ or stray from core tenets or teachings. Because, yeah, it is like this very, I think you could rightly call it hypocritical idea of it's the god of nature, Melora rules over all of nature, well, except for the snow. You know, it's only like really nature that's like comfortable for us, you know? Like as, the mortal races, we kind of prefer like the 60s or 70s. So like I know that like, wind and sleet and hail and snow are all totally legitimate forms of nature. It's just like not very like comfy for us. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think whether or not Matt meant it, I think that is an incredibly poignant commentary on religious establishments. Not on religion in general or as a concept, but specifically with like large establishments associated with one particular religion. Yeah. I don't understand how magical farming works. I mean, me neither. If that's on purpose, that is some great commentary about religious groups. If it's, I don't know that it's probably on purpose. I think it's probably not. But if it was, it's some really good commentary. Yeah. Dangerous dealings. Oh, wait. So that's 42. No magic, no arcane magic. Divine magic is a different thing. There's plenty of divine magic. Yeah, I know about the divine arcane split. Like, I very much agree with that. I could have sworn that at some point they are talking about going to Vasselheim via Tree Stride. And Matt is like, you'll have to be, I guess, like careful or like stealthy about the Tree Stride because no divine magic. I could just be wrong. I could just be making this up in my head. I don't know. Anyways.
Do you happen to know someone or knew of someone named
Zafine?
Zafine?
Zafine. That's his companion. She lives in.
No, I don't recall anyone named Zafine. I'm sorry.
I do not either. My apologies. Good day.
Awkwardly continue walking.
Ask him where the birth heart tree is.
Do you know where the birth heart tree is, actually?
She kind of stops and turns back. The birth heart is 2 paths up and to the right. It's hard to miss.
How long have you guys lived here?
They kind of look at each other. Back at you. Well, my entire life. She lived up north in Kwasen, but moved here 10 years ago.
You've never heard of a Zofine?
Okay, all right, okay. Talking to 2 workers, they have not heard of Zafine. They have not heard of Zafine. One has lived there her whole life. The other moved there 10 years ago, long before Zafine would have died. So some shit is going on. In episode 56, they go back with Keyleth spelling. He tells them then that arcane magic isn't illegal, it's just frowned upon. He always reiterates that divine magic is fine. They're talking about transporting via planes in episode 42, and Matt steps in to say, no, druid magic is fine. Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I always do remember him reiterating the difference between divine and arcane magic. In my memory, at some point, they go there via one of Keyleth's spells, and he implied that it was arcane. But I guess I am probably wrong. So, anyways. But they've never heard of Zafin.
No.
An insight check?
Yes, make an insight check.
24.
24.
I get a whisper?
Whispers!
If you want to help build tension, Loot Crate will help you build a lot of things today. Oh,
Yes.
stop it.
With their next theme, build.
Build suspense, build character.
Build tension,
Do you feel
build
powerful?
stress.
Distrust for every
Yes,
human.
build anxiety disorders.
Do you just hijack your Twitter?
No.
Well,
Sorry. Shit.
Well done.
Thank you very much for stopping and talking with us. And
Of course. And they kind of continue their path, quicken their pace a little bit, hoping to avoid any future questions.
they have no idea who he is. They just they just wanted to be on their way.
Why is it called the birth heart tree?
I guess we'll find out.
Maybe
They said we couldn't miss it.
All right, let's go find it.
All right.
All right, you follow the instructions, which involves you guys now following them about 40 feet back, and they kind of notice you.
No, we're trying to do that thing where it's not like you're walking to your car after you've already seen
Okay,
the
so you hold back a bit.
Yeah.
They eventually turn the car the opposite direction.
Not the upper long
You guys following instructions, you go up 2 paths into the right, and you can see now amongst what is a fair number of, I'd say 20-foot tall trees that you've come through in this area. There is a large domed cluster of trees, look almost like a redwood forest dome of 100-foot tall trees, and just this.
I do wonder how long. Ganassi live in this setting. These people are not workers. They're a couple taking a walk in the park. Oh, are we sure? I thought they were workers. Were they not? But all right. It worked. That's fine. 254. I keep having to reference. I'm misinterpreting things. They awkwardly continue walking. Turns to his companions. We're just out here for a walk. I see. We live in the quad roads. I see. Never mind. Talking to a couple in the Abundant Terrace. Also, she was down from where? The birth heart. Is the couple pretty close? I don't know anyone named Zafin. Crossin. She lived up north in Crossin. Whoa, wait a second. Lived here their whole life. I don't remember if it was a man or woman. The one that moved here here lived up north in Crossin. Crossin's a weird name because it kind of sounds like, what you might like a. I mean, it sounds like crossing, but Othansia, I've said up until now, I assumed that Othansia, and Isilra in general was basically uninhabited beyond Vasselheim and like nomadic peoples. I didn't think there were any other settlements outside of Vasselheim. But if she's from up north in Crossan, that is further into Othanzia and Isilra. So that means that there's at least one other settlement beyond hints towards there being at least one settlement in Othanzia / Isilra beyond Vasselheim. Doesn't completely confirm it, but strongly suggests it, which is interesting. That is interesting. I asked earlier how long Ganassi live in this setting, because depending on how long they live, Senokir just said that she toiled there as a girl. So depending on how long their lifespans are, depending on how long these two people's lifespans are, even if, they would have known each other, like even if their paths should have crossed somehow, the timelines might be way off. Even though we know that Zafin died 4 years ago, we don't know how old she was when she died, and we don't know when she left Vasselheim. Like, my implication up until now was that she died in Vasselheim, but we don't know that. We don't know that, especially given that Senokir is like a freed slave. It seems like they either met outside of Vasselheim, and it seems like probably Zafin was in Vasselheim as a girl, left at some point. Maybe she met Senokir there, maybe she didn't. And then they eventually went and they eventually met some other place, maybe in bondage, in servitude. We also don't know if Zafin was a fire Ganassi or not. We don't know what race she was, I don't think. So, yeah. I don't know. I think Keegan Tibbs got in trouble. To be fair, Vasselheim is a big city. It took conversation between my boyfriend and friend to realize they'd been in the same class in high school on the other side of France 20 years ago. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. That's why I kind of assumed that they were workers, frankly. That's why that's immediately where my mind went, even though, yeah, they just aren't. Because, yeah, just asking some total randos, would not make a lot of sense. Yeah. What's the title of the stream about? I chop it up at the beginning of stream. I get into it pretty quick if you want to see what the title is about. We talk about Scanlan quite a bit. I know pronunciation is flexible because it's a made-up word, but Ganassi in CR is pronounced Genasi. Yeah. Bleh. It sounds too... What do you call it? It sounds too... Bleh. It sounds like I feel like you can have a water Genasi, but I don't think you can have an earth Genasi. Doesn't sound right. I think you can have an earth Ganassi and a water Genasi. And then wind and fire can kind of go either way. But I feel like even fire Ganassi is better. So I'm gonna go with Ganassi. But I mean, Genasi is probably most likely off of Genie. So it probably is just Genie. Genasi. But I don't like it. I think Genasi is probably the correct pronunciation. I just don't really like it that much. My thought is they were enslaved together. Possibly. I don't know. We'll see.
It's one. It looks like Lothlorien in the distance, where it's just you have regular forest and this giant bump in the canopy, and you get the sense that's probably the birth heart.
Does it kind of remind us of Sondor's tree?
Sondor was a singular tree. This, from what you can tell, appears to be a cluster of many trees.
Okay.
Do we proceed towards it?
Yeah, yes, we do.
Yes.
All right, you guys push on, and as you approach...
Can we keep an eye out for guards? Anybody that might be watching us?
Okay, make a perception check.
Me.
Yes, you. He who asks.
He who asks rolls a 10.
Okay, as you walk, you see a handful of guards that just occasionally wander through. The bastions where patchwork armor, there isn't like a standard bastion armor set per se, but they do have elements of colors and cloths that symbolize their station, as well as usually some pins or badges that kind of mark the symbol there. So you do pick up on a few of them, and they're just kind of doing the rounds, and there are a couple that are curiously just keeping a distance and keeping an eye, but not like following you, but just,
Bidet.
Bidet.
Keep up appearances.
Can I keep an eye out for any kind of like tombstones or anything in the area that looks like anybody else might have done similar things?
Sure, perception checks.
Oh, is it at advantage because we're in a forest?
Technically, yes.
Saddest
Well, I
advantage I've ever seen.
Hold on. Perception, you said?
Yes.
That's a 20.
Okay. As you walk towards the birth heart and you get towards the outside of this large cluster of towering trees, you do not see anything that would be a tombstone per se. Occasionally you do see like maybe a small cluster of stones.
Can I go like check them out and see if it looks like...
Yeah, make an investigation check.
How's your binder closed?
What?
How's your binder closed?
Well, I'm trying to take up less space because we, what was the first one?
8 and
Eight.
they were
Okay,
both
15.
dog shit.
15.
15, okay.
Shut up.
Looking at the rocks that are here, there are not a lot of errant stones here. There's some occasional natural stones that hit, but there is a thick kind of naturally composting pine and other leaves that fall in this area that kind of regenerate the cycle of fertility here as part of the enchantment. These stones are deliberately placed and are placed in a circular pattern with a pile in the center.
Okay.
It does appear to be a marking of some kind.
All right.
What was that?
I don't know. It looks like it could be a marker, a tombstone, memorial, something like that.
Do we have to make one that looks like that?
We could.
Okay.
Is it in the exact center of this big area under the trees?
You're unable to see from your perspective. You don't have an aerial view.
Oh, all right. But I mean, is it deep in, or is it just as we come in on the
It's not
side?
terribly deep. I mean, if you guys have reached the outside of the birth heart, you've been walking here for maybe 10 minutes. It's not. You're not entirely certain how far you are from the outskirts of the Abundant Terrace. You haven't really walked through it before. You've seen it from a distance. I think Keyleth did one pass on it when you first came to Vasselheim, or the second time. You really have no idea where you are within the city.
Do I get a vibe off of it? Like it's a place where others have been buried before?
Make a wisdom check.
Or vibe.
All right. I'll use luck.
Ooh, that's cocked. That's cocked.
Nope.
Sure. All right. Well, it was a tiny bit, but no. Very low. 8.
If you could read the number, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Oh yeah, you get the sense. I mean, it's awe-inspiring. This giant canopy of trees. It's hard to tell from this distance, but it's probably hundreds of feet across from end to end, and it's beautiful. There's once again you can see trees up on the mountain that Vasselheim is built in the base on. You can see distant clusters of pine that are all covered in snow, and there should be snowfall on these trees to a certain extent. Ice, gathering at some point in the boughs, and it is just verdant green, untouched by frost or snow.
Does there seem to be like one central tree in the center of all this, or it's just a massive?
It's hard to tell from this outside. You have to walk into the birth heart to see.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
you
thought
enter
we
the
already
birth-
were doing that.
Well, you guys have just reached in. So as you enter the birth heart, it is kind of an archway of branches and trees that kind of knit into each other and wrap around as you step in. And you can see what looks to be like a heavy cluster of forest is really just an outside row of trees that are all intertwined. The inside is open with the occasional stalk of tree that heads up and kind of adds and blossoms up into the higher portion. There is one large central tree in the center of the area that marks
the birth heart.
This is the center of the birth heart. And within, there are a number of lanterns that are hung from the branches all throughout that all have their own kind of yellowish fairy glow within each point. And they're all through the inside at different levels. It's just hundreds of these like glowing yellow lights that are just hooked up into the boughs ahead. There are a number of people walking through off the path, just through the soft kind of mulch wood and dying pine soft floor of the canopy, all wearing similar robes of greens and yellows, golds and whites. You recognize these as similar signs of followers, priests,
Of
and
Melora.
people who worshippers of Melora.
Oh shit! All right.
The central tree does have a number of staircases that spiral up at certain points. There are look to be windows and holes throughout. The inside gives a warm glow from the interior.
What?
And there's you can already see dozens of people gathered on the outside at tables talking. It looks like it's all. There's no cafe necessarily, but there is there's a somewhat surprisingly I won't say vibrant social atmosphere, but there are places where people are just congregating here to have soft conversations.
Are they all holy, or is it?
Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Okay.
It's a smattering of individuals.
Can you talk to me?
I know, this is so romantical. Okay. Does it... I go up to one of the worshippers of Melora.
Okay. There's an older woman. Her hair starts red and then goes to gray. She, best you can tell, her heritage is human, but she's a little thicker and more muscular than most women of her age that you've come across. Her skin is weathered from sunlight and looks to be harsh seasons, but she smiles as you approach, and her eyes, one looks to be a little cataract-ridden, but the other one is a beautiful kind of clear blue color, and both of them kind of meet with yours as you approach, and she smiles. Can I help you?
Oh, hello. I'm Keyleth of the Arashari. What's your name?
L'amour. It's nice to meet you.
Lamore. Pleasure to meet you.
Love.
I was just curious.
Lamore.
Yes,
Let me write this down before I forget.
L-A-M-O-R.
What?
L-A-M-O-R.
L-A-M-O-R.
Yes.
Okay.
I was just curious. We are here to pay our respects and to bury do a favor for a friend and bury his fallen wife. Is there a specific place where we can do that and spread the ashes in a respectful manner? Below the birth heart tree? Or I just don't want to disturb the grounds.
I mean, to return to the earth is a sacred offering. From what you were given life is to give life once more. You would need a witness. I could witness for you if you prefer.
Really?
Just to make sure that there's no funny business, of course.
Of course. I have no problems with that.
No.
No problems
I
with
think
that.
this is a great idea.
Solid.
Okay, yeah.
Find your place of your choosing, and I will come as well.
Thank you. Do you have any suggestions? Kind of new to this.
Anything with like orange flowers around? I feel like Seneca would like orange flowers.
Not much in the way of blooming flowers of color in the birth heart.
Should we ask her?
Is it better to open a box and then put the ashes out? Or is it to...
That depends on the interred. I mean, whatever the wishes are of the one you've lost, but that's...
What was her name again?
Should we ask if maybe she knows?
Yeah.
Her. The name.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, this is... I'm reading a lot of intentionality in the way that Matt is talking and describing the birth heart. Number one, lots of civilians. Number two, lots of faithful, guards, clerics, a lot of people that you might be able to get some information about, which is exactly where they went to. Then Keyleth just said, I approach one of the followers of Melora. Leaves it open to Matt. Matt introduces an old woman. If Zafin was old and, when she died and, left the Abundant Terrace, when she was a girl, then you would need potentially someone older that might actually remember her. So I'm reading some intentionality there. Then they don't ask about her. They just say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And Matt says, okay, you'll need a witness to make sure there's no funny business. Makes sense with the previous world building, of course. But also reestablishes and, re-pokes at them that there might be some funny business going on here. Especially after, that conversation earlier, which in retrospect didn't tell us too much, but specifically within the choice of NPC, I'm reading a lot of intentionality. And we'll see what ends up happening. I thought the birth heart was a single tree. I know. So the birth heart, he specifically said The birth heart is a cluster of trees. Because Vex very clearly said, is it like Sondor's tree? And he was like, Sondor's tree was a singular tree. This is more of a cluster of trees. That is the birth heart. And then he pointed out a tree that is the center of the birth heart. So there's like the birth heart, which is like, I'm interpreting the birth heart as kind of a grove, like a druid grove or a druid circle. I'm interpreting it as a grove. And then there is a tree that is also at the center of the birth heart. And then the birth heart itself is surrounded by a bunch of other shit. Old woman, prime fight bait. It's gonna put them even more on edge that she's old.
Did you happen to know a woman named Saphine? I literally was thinking so fine in my head, and I was trying to remember.
I'm afraid I don't know that name. I'm sorry.
She was a big fan of this place.
One of our favorite locations.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Man, and Vox either didn't write it down or doesn't remember that Senokir said that she worked in the Abundant Terrace. Not just that she liked it a lot and would like to be buried there, but that she, I think his words were, toiled there as a girl, which I would say kind of charged phrasing, to be frank. Where she once lived, toiled as a girl. Again, little charged way to describe it, I would say. So they're forgetting. Oh, also Senokir is 2 E's. Or maybe I just wrote it down as 2 E's. I don't know. I'm getting sussed
I think
out.
we would just like to bury the box without disturbing the box. Right, guys?
Probably, yeah.
Just put the box in there.
Okay.
Yes.
Probably.
She's looking a little awkward from all this conversation.
We've never buried ashes before.
We've had a very long week.
Yes.
You do look a bit worse for wear.
A couple of months, actually.
Well, decide on a location of your choosing. We will have to keep vigil over it for a short time.
Great, that's wonderful.
That's great.
And if there is anything found that is not approved within the birth heart, it will be excised and removed from the premises.
Great.
With no disrespect meant.
No, none.
Okay, it does also appear that there isn't actually a risk of just burying ashes. Seems like just burying ashes would be cool. Forget what I said earlier about what potentially happens when you bury ashes. Doesn't seem like that's the case. But I still do think that Senokir could have done something to the box that could have some ramifications with the magics of the area. Maybe it adds to them, it twists them, something happens with it. I don't quite know. But it's very easy to believe that, yeah, just like generic ashes aren't going to have any problems, but maybe he did something to the ashes or did something to the box that will cause some problems.
Oh,
None taken.
Yes.
Question,
Yes.
like, what sort of thing would represent an unwelcome burial?
Anything that's not the remains of an individual like you've promised they are?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
right, yeah. Like foreign seeds or something.
Very much so.
Yep, agriculture,
Yeah.
control, very important.
Bad.
Should I
Darn
speak
fruit
with...
nuts.
There are flowers here, aren't there?
I mean, on simple wildflowers, yes.
Lead the way, please. Whatever's closest.
All right, follow me. She turns around and she looks not mistrusting, but she's definitely a little confused. She brings you to the edge of this pathway. And you can see like there's a nice smooth, packed dirt walk that's well kept, and you can see occasionally a few of the priests come through with these very fine rake-like brooms. They just pull through like this very fine Zen garden, and it kind of rakes the earth as they go through, and it helps them pat as they walk.
As we walked over here, I turned around to the group and just went,
She brings it to the edge where the dirt ends, and you can see the underbrush and the greenery continues. And she steps into it, and you can watch as each foot comes down. Kind of as when you walk through a densely kind of wooded area with each crush of a plant or a brush or a stick or a twig as it breaks, it kind of mends itself immediately after she steps past it. You progress, and she leads you maybe 70 feet off the path, past a couple of the central trees that are kind of dappled throughout this area. And one spot you can see there's these faint whitish gray flowers that are kind of gathering in clusters around the base of a tree here.
That's nice.
This looks perfect.
Well, it is yours to do.
Does the birth heart...
You're saying that Senokir's words are unclear? This one I can actually find much more easily. 76. So you're saying like maybe she was toiling in Vasselheim generally, possibly not the Abundant Terrace specifically. Let's see. Terrace. Let's see. What's in the box? I want you to take this and do me a favor. This will consider our debt cleared. Let's see.
What is it?
What is it?
This box contains the ashes of my late wife, Zafin.
Oh.
I've kept them for years and have been intending to make a trip to Vasselheim and bury it beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace where she once lived and toiled as...
I mean, I would say that you could inject some ambiguity into that, but to me, it is... I'm intending to make a trip to Vasselheim and bury it beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace where she once lived, toiled as a girl. Like, I feel like if you were trying to say that she had lived in Vasselheim, this sentence would be ordered differently. Like, it is make a trip to Vasselheim, bury it beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace where she once lived. You know what I'm saying? Like that and is separating. It's like this is like a verb to Vasselheim. Like this is a whole structure and then bury beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace. And then I feel like if you were trying to like end the thought there, like bury it beneath the birth heart in the Abundant Terrace, it would like end there and then like where she once lived. You know what I'm saying? I guess I can read some ambiguity there, but I don't personally see that as super ambiguous. It seems like she lived in the Abundant Terrace and toiled there as a girl. I that's relatively clear to me, but I can see that potentially being ambiguous, as English often is. Let's see. Sentence structure feels fairly clear that the terrace is where she lived. It's almost like that weird cadence leads to things being weird to interpret. Yeah! It's almost like Senokir talking strangely and talking in a weird cadence has a little bit of an impact on his clarity. Who could have guessed? People also say I live in X city when they live 30 minutes away. That is true. That is true. That's what I'm saying. I can understand how some ambiguity could be read there, but to me, it seems as though he was saying she was in the Abundant Terrace, she worked there. But I can see
healing properties.
So.
The birth heart has many properties to it. The guidance and blessings of Melora are strongest here, anywhere on Exandria, and here her presence is felt even beyond the Divine Gate.
I mean, that seems to be the case with, like, Vasselheim broadly, right? I'm gonna copy this. Well, I'll wait to let her finish talking, then copy it.
Pike, this feels right.
Right? It does?
Yes, it does.
Does it?
Okay, look, I feel like this is an exercise.
In simplicity and trust. Look, Keyleth, I don't disagree with you. But is it an exercise? What's the purpose of the exercise? Also, me and Laura Bailey on the same fucking page, dude. Does it have any healing properties? I agree, Laura. I agree. Also, I love that Matt didn't say no. To be incredibly clear, Matt did not say no to that. He was just like, it does a lot of shit. It's like, okay, is one of the things that it does heal people? It's like, her presence is so strong here. It's like, okay, right, but does that presence result in people coming back from the dead, potentially? Or would that need some, like, extra sauce in it? maybe some extra necromantic sauce? Like, that could maybe be delivered via box? I don't know.
In simplicity for us. And trust, right?
Yeah.
Sorry for all the questions. It's very lovely here.
It's not you, it's us.
We're so weird.
We really are.
I wasn't going to say it, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Pike, would you bring the box over here, please? Would you pray with me, please? Please.
Well, Matt, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you may.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Is it respectful to when you're at a place of another god's worship to? I know we did it at the resurrection ritual, but to bring another god into it.
Roll a religion check.
That's a super fair question. Super fair.
Oh, fuck it. Do I get an?
Also, one of the best examples of a religion check in recent memory, because that's, I mean, it's a perfect example of a religion check. Very fair question. Hell yeah.
Advantage?
No. You have no idea.
I have no idea.
You've spent some time in Vasselheim, but it's always been focused around your temple and the reconstruction of Sarenrae's temple. You have spent very little time studying the other religions around you and what that sort of a situation would entail, so you have no clue.
Wait, did you say something about a resurrection? You didn't say that, did
I
you?
was just saying because
The resurrection was both the Raven
it
Queen.
was in the Raven Queen, but we were using Sarenrae as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so the crossing over of deities' influence into space is what she was inquiring about.
Right.
Some deities might like each other more than other deities, though.
Right.
Ours are-
Yeah,
ours
That's very
are-
true, actually.
Yeah,
Ours are
totally.
Like besties.
I
besties.
feel like Melora and like Sarenrae.
I might think they'd be chummy. Well,
Like
because
so
like
similar
Melora's
that it's
just
a
like,
problem,
Yeah.
well,
This is kind of her
oh
spot.
Jesus,
Makes sense
right.
on the surface, but
but like it's just there's a lot of clash.
Well, Melora's more neutral. She's more like nature
Earth
is earth tones, you know, fall colors.
I know that we are all really fucking worn out, but I would like to not cheapen this moment any more than we maybe already have.
Guys, when we set out to do this, we promised we were going to make this easy and simple, and we can't even do that. We are torturing ourselves.
You're
We are
getting a
making
little-
it far more
you're getting a little
complicated.
Oh, let's stop. Let's
Okay.
just bury these ashes.
Percy?
I'm keeping my mouth so shut.
Okay, look. All right, Pike. If you want, before we do this, I could do like a commune with nature and maybe like just study the lands and maybe see if I could connect with Melora, maybe through my spire. If you want, if that would
Put the box on the ground.
Okay, or we could just put the box on the ground. Jesus.
All right, well, are we gonna dig a hole or we just?
Is it all right if we dig a hole?
I imagine so, yes. All right. So you get down and dig a hole?
Sure.
It's soft. The ground is pretty malleable, actually. Not like clay, but the dirt isn't densely packed in this portion.
As I'm doing it, I'm like, Melora, you were clutch in the fight against Raishon, and we appreciate it greatly. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Your trees are beautiful.
Also, we don't know what we're planning here, so if it's something bad, it's not our fault. Side note.
Are you talking to the dirt?
I'm talking to Melora through the dirt.
Okay.
You just put like a "we are not responsible for
Yeah.
any damages" clause into the contract.
I am smirking, but trying to pray
Okay.
for the Raven Queen.
Okay.
There.
Can you place the box in?
Yes.
Okay. You rest the box down.
My precious.
Chains,
Doesn't feel right.
chains, blocks and all, into the hole, freshly dug by Vex.
I'm gonna cover it. It's getting covered.
Vex covers it, takes the dirt, pats it. There, the flowers kind of, arranged naturally across the tree trunk and the growth surrounding it. The woman clasps her hands together. Very well. Now, if you please.
Would it be okay if I just picked a couple of flowers just to press and take with me for remembrance?
She reaches over and. There you are, child.
Thank you.
Now, business is done.
Could we leave a marker of some sort so we know exactly where we left her?
What would you wish to leave?
Well, I saw earlier circles of stones. Is that traditional?
It depends on your background, of course. If that's what you prefer. We wish nothing with names or engravings. The memory is kept by Melora in the presence of nature in its own. So,
Can you think of anything Seneca would have appreciated?
I think knowing his work is underground may be enough.
I could stone shape something simple.
Maybe a ring. He's a jeweler.
It's
It
true.
was his wife.
It's true. I just kind of out of the ground stone shape what looks like a simplistic, almost with a fire-branded wedding band.
you watch as the ground, the earth off to the side of where you buried the box, kind of shakes, and a single stone, roughly that big, kind of like finds its way to the surface like a localized earthquake, and as it hits the top, it splits and shapes into a circular band, and then falls on the side and kind of rests there for a moment on top of the dirt pile.
That's perfect. Okay.
Thank you for This.
I will remain vigil over this. You may take your walk up the birth heart or the rest of Vasselheim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we go in? Can we go up and look? Or is it fine?
Well, you would have to speak with the priests. It's not necessarily an open.
Who are
It's
the
not the
priests?
Swiss Family Robinson treehouse.
It's just beautiful.
But that would be
cool.
Who are the priests?
Well, any of the individuals in similar garb, but they have a series of golden rings around their neck at the base of the tree.
I was just curious because, you see, I have this staff that has Melora's marking on it.
She takes a moment, kind of reach forward.
Wow, that's...
We should have led with that.
You know, that's quite a reaction. I wasn't expecting that.
Where did you come across such an artifact?
I found it through a series of very hard and troubling events and circumstances.
I can only understand that. What you hold in your hand is one of the great relics of Melora.
Okay.
I must remain as I've chosen my vigil already, but if you would do the honor of the birth heart of having that return to the priestesses of Melora, that would be of a great aid to our people.
He just did that.
Fuck you, John.
Wow.
What'd you think was gonna happen? Marisha, come on! Dude, I thought Marisha was going for like a character moment there, but she seems actually surprised. What? I don't know if I'm not being fair enough or like what, but that seems like a very reasonable and expected series of events. Come on. Am I crazy here? Very true, but poor Marisha, I guess. Why bring it out? I don't know, man. Maybe me and Marisha are disconnected. Mega is not Marisha here. I guess I can understand that maybe that isn't intuitive, but maybe it's the warlock in me. But if you steal a magic carpet from Allura, you don't bring out the magic carpet around Allura. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think they're going to ask for it? Like, I don't think they're going to take it from her. But yeah, they're going to ask for it. It's one of their great religious artifacts. If you pulled out the fucking Ark of the Covenant in front of the Pope, he's going to ask for it. It's like the ball? It is like the ball. It is not really, but it's close. Paige is participating. I understand the Dead Sea Scrolls are super important culturally, but they also let me cast super dope spells. Yeah. I don't think anyone at the table saw that happening, which is why they laughed like that. I agree. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they. It does seem that Marisha is maybe not like totally, you know, like totally out of the loop here. It seems like there were at least a few of them that that were, you know, that thought this would happen, that maybe a few that thought weren't. That's crazy though. I cannot inhabit the mind of someone that didn't expect this course of action. This is very intuitive to me. It's like saying to the Pope, hey, I found the Grail. I found it in Jerusalem, and then not thinking they'd want it. Yeah. And like, again, I think in certain circumstances, you know, you could be justified in keeping it, but you don't even think they're going to ask? Come on.
That's why you keep things hidden.
It's, and she kind of reaches out, kind of runs her finger on the side of it. It's like,
Yeah, okay, you know, that's enough. That's enough. Touching.
her magic, her force is potent in that you are blessed to have found it.
She's aided us greatly.
As she does us all.
What if her aid... what if her aid was best used in you know... What if,
protecting
Yeah, put to get used in the world and not maybe in a museum.
That is your choice, not mine.
I think perhaps there will come a time, but that it is not yet time to put the staff to rest.
Look.
Wow.
You know, I don't want to hold on to anything if it doesn't rightfully belong to me. But this has also been lost for like a long time. So who does it rightfully belong to? And I'm trying to do good with it.
She kind of reaches out and touches your forehead.
It is so funny. And I even think, like, I'm obviously, I'm looking at it through a particular lens. So the lens may or may not be wholly accurate, or it may only capture a part of it. But this also kind of comes off to me as a conflict with the non-interference policy. You know what I'm saying? It's like someone saying, hey, this thing that you have is incredibly culturally important to our people. And given the normal course of events, would still be with us. Because, like, she just said, this priestess of Melora just said, hey, it's your choice. We're not going to take it from you. And she is looking for the civilian to tell her, to not even to tell her that it's okay, because the civilian already told her it's okay. She is asking the civilian to think that it is the right thing to do. She is not only asking her to be okay with it, she is asking her to actively support it. Before she feels comfortable taking it. And again, there's this is a complicated character moment, probably a lot of complicated emotions going on within Keyleth being acted out by Marisha. But I do think that there is this idea of them as outsiders that are taking on these threats. And I think she is grappling with the idea that the staff of Melora has a kind of a rightful home, right? Unlike a lot, the boots of haste or whatever, something that was crafted, a ring. This is a unique artifact that has unique significance to a particular culture and religion, a particular group of people. And that, I think, within their worldview, implies that as its natural home, that it deserves, that it should, that it ought to be in. And that is I think that is a legitimate moral quandary for them. They are there to set the world, not necessarily right, but they are there to set the world on its natural course, right? It's interesting. It's very interesting. The worshippers of Melora are aware that not only other gods exist, but also that they have scattered incredibly powerful items across the world. Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, so it's all... That's very interesting. I think you could also look at it, like, primarily through that lens of her having this specific connection to it and wanting to, like, spread that connection. Yeah. I will say, sure, it's a religious artifact, but it's an artifact with actual power, and frankly, I can't imagine it being in better hands than Keyleth to do the most good. I also agree with that. But I think that could come back to, like, kind of, again, their non-interference policy. Is like, if they cared about doing the maximum amount of good in whatever they view good as, right? Then yes, if they're looking at, I guess you could say, through a utilitarian point of view, maximum good, she should keep the staff. She is a very capable spellcaster. She has a higher capability, and the staff of Melora has a higher amount of utility in her hands to affect greater good, net good. But by that same token of logic, you could argue that they should take a stronger hand in reestablishing the government of Iman. They have a certain perception of greater good, the things that need to be done to affect that. They should take a stronger hand in structuring the government of Iman to make sure that it doesn't fall to crime or a military junta if they don't believe that a military junta is effective. Like, they should take a strong hand in that. Whitestone and Amon are currently going to be implementing different forms of government that Vox Machina both support. Theoretically, they should probably have, and I think if you like really drilled down into it with them, they would have a single form of governance that they think is better than the others. And they should be arguing for that within Iman. But instead, I would argue that they view, at least how it's coming off to me, they view the path to greatest good as non-interference. They might say, they might rightfully argue, that this form of governance works better in Iman, this form of governance works better in Marquette, this works better in the north of Taldore. I think that if I really drilled down, like really tried to describe their philosophy, you know, as I'm kind of seeing it this session, it is like a radical, or not even necessarily radical, but like an extreme relativity within morality, like extreme context. Like people will naturally find the thing that works best for them because they know the context the best, right? The people of Amon will put together the best government for Amon because they live in Amon, they know Amon, they eat, sleep, and breathe Amon.
Ads incoming. Take cover.
We are outsiders. We should not take too strong of a hand because we have not lived and breathed that context. We would possibly do more harm than good. But that sort of can extend into these domains as well. So I truly do think that that is at least a facet of her struggle here is, yes, you know, you could easily argue that she could do more good with the staff of Melora, but you could also argue that the people that worship Melora, that commune directly with Melora, might have things they could do with that staff that would better serve Melora, and it is Melora's staff after all. So I think you could argue that we think Keyleth could do the most good, but we don't know the cult. What's up? What's up? Wait, I saw something that I wanted to say. To me, putting a government together is a different ball game to controlling a staff, or I even think Whitestone as being Percy's home that is family ruled. I'm kind of arguing that, at least through a certain lens, it's not. Like, it's all a greater good conversation, right? And affecting greater good and you knowing how to affect a greater good, right? Let's say that you have a laptop that is a super sick, beefy laptop, and I run a server farm that is working on like protein folding, right? I'm like sequencing. I'm working on protein folding to better develop vaccines and like a bunch of good medicine to cure a bunch of diseases. So I'm clearly doing some really good work. And I find your laptop on the street. Now I think the base level is, well, it's yours. I should give it back to you. The next level above that is, well, maybe, but it's kind of like if I use this laptop, if I integrated its parts into the server farm, we might be able to unfold or refold. We might be able to accelerate the good that we're doing. And, I don't really know what you're going to do with the laptop. It might be good. It might be bad. I don't know. And I know that I'm going to do good with it. So I should keep the laptop. And then let's, add it on here. Maybe you say, hey, I saw that you found the laptop. Like, that's all good. I know what you're doing. You can keep it. I think that is similar to the moral quandary here of like, I think one of the reasons that Keyleth is torn on this is because she is assuming that the good she will do with the laptop is better or is more good than the good that the followers of Melora would do with the laptop. You know what I'm saying? And I would argue, in an abstract sense, setting up a government is similar to that. They do not want to set up a government because to do so, even if they truly believe in like what is the best form of government, to set it up for Iman would be them saying, we're going to take all of these resources, the laptop essentially, and put them towards this goal of like societal good via, this method. We are going to implement that rather than leaving all of those resources with you so that you can implement it. Because if I did that, if I took all of the resources and implemented my own governmental regime, then that would be me assuming that I know better how to achieve the end goal of maximum good, as compared to you, who actually lives in that context. And I think that broadly, Vox go the second option. They tend to leave it in the hands of the sort of rightful owners with whatever they would do with those tools or those resources, as opposed to taking those resources or those tools themselves and using those to affect their idea of the greater good. I think in at least some ways, it's actually pretty similar. Yeah. There's a concept you're getting near where people can't have freedom if they don't understand the concept of what freedom is. Rousseau, Kant, Plato, in regards to how government should be structured for different people. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's a and I'm not saying that is the entire reason that she's nervous here by any means. I don't think that is the entire driving force. I also think a story whispered reference like her relationship with the gods, faith-based guilt, moral guilt. Yeah, I think that there are other factors to this, but I do think that I'm kind of seeing a trend in how they interact with individuals, especially when it comes to things that might affect those individuals' lives. when I wrote different, I didn't mean in terms of good, but different in terms of how much effort it takes with how much they care about that issue. They care about Whitestone instead of... I see. They care about Whitestone because of Percy. You're essentially arguing that they're not really, in most cases, they're not really acting out of idealism, but more out of they have a level of balance between their ideals and how much effort those ideals would take to implement. So maybe they don't actually have this idealism that I'm talking about. They just don't want to put in the effort to enact their beliefs in... They're not acting for the greater good, essentially. They are acting for the greater good balanced with how much personal effort it would take. You can either pessimistically look at that, in terms of them trying to be selfish and, maximize their own happiness personally, or you could see that as in a more positive light, in sort of a prioritization thing. They are very capable. They can affect a lot of change. They have to pick and choose where they put their efforts, and establishing a government for the good that it would enact is not worth the level of effort compared to them going and spending that effort elsewhere. Essentially, it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze in that case. Possible. I think Keyleth has that level of idealism, but the others don't, and frankly, they kind of reduce that part of her, in my opinion. I could see that. I think the thing that, even in my head of, like, when we talk about, like, implementing a government, right? Percy, at the very least, made his wishes known. They have not done a lot of, like, detailed stuff in Whitestone. That has mostly, been done off screen or handled by Cassandra. So I think the thing that is interesting to me when I'm looking at, like, the way that their ideology acts out is that I generally, broadly agree that there is, like, varying levels of effort that they're willing to put in. But I also think that there is a level of, like, even if you didn't want to put in any effort into establishing it, telling Allura, we should hold elections, or we should be a republic. In fact, I would argue that they put in more effort than they actually needed to in terms of establishing a government in Amon. They didn't need to take Uriel's mindset or wishes into account, like, at all. They just didn't need to take Senokir's ideals or wishes into account when burying this of, like, going the extra mile and the extra effort to craft that band as the marker. They could have just put a stone there. So I would say that they can't. I don't think that they are just looking at this in terms of minimal effort for maximal gain. Sometimes they put in more effort than they need to. And in the case of Iman, the effort that they put in was bent towards making the government more like what Taldore envisioned, instead of, potentially like a military junta. So I would argue that they did put in some amount of effort. It just wasn't bent towards any of their own conceptions of what the best government would be. They bent their effort towards what the best government that the inhabitants thought should be there. You know what I'm saying? While VM is wanting good overall, like you have stated, very tribal, they are very much for the personal good of themselves and each other. I think they are also there. And I think that, like Rainbow Dragon said, I think that Keyleth, in terms of tribality at least, Keyleth is probably the least tribal. Even, within her backstory and her like baseline character, yes, she's out here for Vox Machina, but she's also on her Aramente. Like, yes, she has Vox Machina, but she also has the Ashari. The only other person that has really that level of connectivity with another, group of people is Percy with Whitestone. And I think that we, see a similar thing with him. I think these are the two that most often care about the overall larger, greater good. And I do think that they're also the least tribal. So it's definitely, I definitely agree that broadly the others in Vox Machina reduce the idealism or the ideological bent of what Keyleth would otherwise do. I think if it were not for Vox Machina's influence, I think Keyleth would act more idealistically more of the time. And in a situation where she is debating, they more often turn her towards the good of Vox as opposed to greater good. Yeah. I think if given a problem, Vox Machina could mobilize more. Like if a village was trying to take control, but just informing them they can lead is not mobilizing them. I think I understand what you're saying, and I think I agree. I think so. Yeah. I love the idea that the character from a tribe is the least tribal. I think in general, I agree with you. Like, in general, that is what I'm saying. Not I agree with you. I mean, I do agree with you. But yeah, in the hierarchy of things, I think they're all very tribal. But I think they are the least. Yeah. With the exception of Keyleth and Percival, they don't have a political ideology. Ooh. That's such an interesting statement. I don't agree. I don't think that's possible. They may not know how to communicate the political ideology that they hold in their heart and that drives their actions, but I don't think you can avoid having one. I guess unless you mean like no. Actually, even then, I don't think you can avoid having one. It's sort of like in America, there's at least I don't know if it's like a global saying, but there's the concept of like not voting is still a statement. It's still a choice. Like if you vote for no one, that is just as much of a choice as voting. And even if it's not a purposeful choice, even if you just forget, that still speaks to an ideology that you cared so little about voting that you allowed yourself to forget. So I think even if they are extremely ambivalent, extremely tribal, that in and of itself speaks to a philosophy that they believe the world will be okay and possibly even better with this non-interference. We take care of ours, you take care of yours. That itself is a political philosophy, even if you aren't consciously aware of it or you don't say it out loud or you don't even know the name of it. I don't even know the name of it. There probably is a political philosophy that embodies that sentiment, and I don't know the name of it, but it still exists and they still follow it. And if we're being real honest, no one actually has a political philosophy that can be named. No one 100% in every situation believes that they should follow any given political philosophy. I guess we might say life philosophy. I don't think anyone believes in anything 100%. Yeah. There's a name for pretty much everything in political thought. That's fair. That's fair. You might be able to construct one. It might be kind of like German, where they can like, Am I thinking of the right language? It's like German, you can like construct new words that by just like adding on modifiers to words or like by smushing words together to where you can like form like singular words that like mean all of these different things because you just like constructed it in the moment. I guess political philosophy is kind of like that, yeah. I think it's contextual to our having a two-party system as well, and if you live in a swing state, that's where we get more judgy of not voting. Yeah, so that's why I say, I don't know if it applies everywhere, but I think it's kind of like that. Like, if you say, I don't have a philosophy, you are making the statement that you do not view a philosophy as like a good thing or an important thing or a thing that you need to have, Isolationist libertarian sounds like what you described, I guess, yeah. Maybe it's better to say they don't have an interest in politics. They won't discuss government like Percy and Keyleth do. I think that's incredibly fair. I think it is incredibly fair to say that they do not have an interest in government or governing. I think that's totally valid. Yeah. Political philosophy, the ability to choose not to vote is indeed a crucial part of political freedom. Yeah. To be fair, English is like that too. I guess. Yeah. I guess it is, yeah. Although in English, I feel like you can only really do it like once or twice before. I feel like there's like kind of a maximum amount of times that you can do it. Before you've added like too many hyphens and too many prefixes and stuff. Like, can you have like 2 prefixes on a word? I don't even know if you can. Maybe you can. Let's watch some Vox Machina.
It's all right. We mean not to take it from you. If it still has purpose in your hands, keep it. Keep it safe. Do not lose it as you say it was once lost. And when you find the need for such power no longer necessary, then return it.
I promise you I will. And I'm very grateful, and I do feel very blessed that I found it and that I have this power.
Then use it to spread her love. Use it to spread her comfort and protection.
Champion of Melora, I see it now.
Oh, shit.
Is there like a way? Because you see, I'm not very great with the gods, but I've never really spoken to Melora. I have a lot of friends who are very, much supporters of her. Is there something I could do to maybe just show my thanks?
I think the fact that you still hold that to this day means that her favor smiles on you. If you walk the paths she rides, maybe you'll find a way to talk with her yourself. But there is no key, there is no trick, there is no secret. She speaks through the growing buds of the flowers below. She speaks through the rain that comes and brings water to them to grow. I'm sure she's spoken to you most of your life. Maybe now your ears are open to listen.
Thank you, Lemore.
You're welcome.
I will not forget your words.
I hope not. There is great wisdom in that staff. There is great wisdom in you. You doubt yourself too much, child.
People keep telling me that in just different forms. Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
She kind of takes her hand and just kind of cups it into both of hers and kind of holds it for a second.
I'm so conflicted. Thank you. Okay, bye. All right.
Do we get to leave the Arboretum now?
It was beautiful though while it lasted.
It's so beautiful.
I stepped on this toadstool and I'm afraid to tell someone.
I think it'll grow back, Rob.
Yeah, take your foot off and watch.
I can't. I'm scared. They're looking really close.
Let's get her out of here before they change their mind, all right?
Yeah.
We can watch your moral panic all day. It's so delightful.
Shut up, Percy!
As you guys make your way out of the birth heart, into the Abundant Terrace, what do you wish to do?
See, that was not such a big deal. All that fuss for a box in the dirt.
Boom! Explosion
Do we
behind
need
them.
to
Right when he
stock up
says
on
that.
supplies?
Oh, yeah. We haven't been in like a right proper store in a long time, right?
Yeah. Do you need to check in on the temple?
Maybe, I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know, I just still feel weird about it.
This might be a bit of a wild hair, but watching you back there, I kind of had a thought. Grog.
Yeah.
I mean, we've just had a really hard time for weeks, months. It was fucking awful. You seem a bit punchy. You want to take her?
Say it.
To the crucible.
Oh, shit.
To let off a little bit of steam.
What's the crucible?
So, was she not here? Were you not?
I think she was off.
Oh, that's right.
I think
The
she had just
crucible.
left.
The crucible
Oh, shit.
is a pit fighting arena next to the Temple of Cord, right? In that
the Trial
area.
Forge,
In
yeah.
the Trial Forge. Yeah. One-on-one.
We know you're all an angel, but we know that you also have a little bit of piss and vinegar in you.
No weapons.
No weapons?
Just fist fight.
No armor? Nothing?
No, you can have.
Yeah, armor.
It's like a bare knuckle fight.
Yeah, it's pretty much fisticuffs in the
Got no
crucible.
fights there.
They got no fights? They got no fights? I can do it. That sounds like a blow.
I want to see if I can find 2 small stones while we're walking through the path. I want to find 2 pretty reasonable fire-starting stones.
Yeah, got it.
Flints?
Yeah, just
okay.
flints.
Make sure let's move on to investigation because you're gonna.
Best.
Oh man, 9.
You find one.
Yeah, it's just you versus Matt.
Damn it! I'm gonna keep looking.
What are you doing with a rock? Doesn't seem like something you normally look for.
No, it's
More
not.
grog speed there.
Yeah, I was just thinking that he needs a gift.
I mean, does anybody? You got a gift for me?
Not yet. I'm working.
I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but besides like the store, I would kind of like to go by the Temple of Cord again. Just pop in. I don't want to bore anybody.
No.
I'm all right with that.
We can go there.
Okay.
Sure, we've bored you several times with our god.
No, you
mumbo
have.
jumbo.
No, yeah, you have.
Yeah.
We're keeping track.
I mean, tell me how you really feel, Grog. Yeah.
I resent you.
Jeez, you know what? Never mind. I take all of that back.
Well, I thought you. All right.
Tangentially, not today, not for a while. I need to go back to.
The Temple of the Raven?
Yeah, not today.
Do you not
Eventually.
want to today?
No, I don't want to today.
No, you never came back last night. Thought you were going to come back.
I'll come back.
Carry on.
So as you guys are walking, where are you heading? To the birth.
The birth.
What's it called? Sorry.
Trial Forge.
Oh, the Trial Forge is
Temple
the
of
temple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to go to the Temple of Cord. But do you-
Bro, when I stay up too late playing Oblivion and Paige comes in and is like, it's 3 a.m. I thought you were coming to bed at midnight. And I go, oh no. Shit. I got nothing to say to that.
You want to see?
Braving Grounds. Yeah.
Yeah, the Braving
Oh, man.
By the oubliettes.
I just want to.
That exists somewhere in the city that we
It does.
Yeah, I think I can do it.
It's actually.
Is it like you? Yeah, we know.
free.
Is in
A little bigger.
fast. It's in the Dusk Meadows, the Amaranthine Oubliette.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, out of character, Ashley. I wish you were here next week. Get into a fucking fist fight.
No.
Crucible.
Just looking at this guy.
Are you looking at your schedule?
Can we make our way towards the Temple of Cord?
Yes. So you guys make your way to the Birth Heart. It's easy to follow. Of all the areas in here that are more clean, not the Birth Heart, sorry, the Braving Grounds.
Yep.
Braving Grounds is where all the ironwork, metalwork, smithy, and refining of various burnable fuels are maintained. So you see the plumes of coal smoke that come out of the various forges. So you head that direction, following that as a very definitive visual reference point. It takes you a better part of an hour or so. Making your way through the crowds and the bastions, and it seems like not a whole lot has changed since last time you were here in Vasselheim. For all the chaos and destruction you've seen in Taldore, it appears that Isilra is none the wiser, and life goes on.
Wow.
You make your way through the Braving Grounds to the Trial Forge, and there you see before you the large Temple of Cord, the dark, deep red, rusted iron color of the temple with the statue atop. The front doors, the tall, thin doors are open just enough for about 2 shoulders worth of people to walk through. The interior appears to be brightly lit.
Do you want to go inside? Only the strong may enter.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
All right. I would like to go inside.
Should we wait out here for you?
I mean, you can come in if you want.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys walk into the temple. There are no sentries. There are no worshippers of Cord that you remember greeting you the first time you came to the temple. The hallway is just kind of a straight shot to the central cross section.
That's strange. There's usually people here. Hello?
You keep walking, making your way down the smooth, dark, granite-like floors. You can see the tall archway just continues, and the repeated pattern of the pillars that mark the strength portions of the archway meeting in the center just over and over again, like this oversized spinal column almost in the way it's segmented. Eventually coming to where the center points cross, where the sand pit, you recall, the center of the Trial Forge was. And as you approach, you see a singular figure standing in the center of the pit, facing away from you. You see the same dark,
like deep ruddy color and weathered texture to the shoulder muscles and arms, just kind of resting at the sides. The same grayish white hair, kind of pulling down the back of the bald on top head. The reds and golds of the billowing pants there before you. And as you kind of approach quietly towards the edge of the sandpit, the voice shouts out,
I have had visions in my rest of your path to war, Strongjaw. You took my words and you found your strength. What have you learned?
That without my friends and love, my strength would be nothing.
Then show me what you have learned.
Oh, shit.
Show me what you possess. Show me your worth under the watch of Cord, half-giant. Show me.
and he turns around. And he like slams his fist to the side and the sand around him kind of dusts out in this small arc and then rests in the ground. He looks up.
I'm having a DBZ orgasm right now.
And that's where we're going to finish.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
How long have you been waiting? How long? Oh, shit!
Whenever you got back to the trial, that's been sitting there.
Yeah!
We'll pick up on that next week.
Round 2. Fight.
Don't interpret my kind of as anything other than personal preference. I'm not into like big dramatic DBZ style fights. At least in D&D, sometimes I can get down with them in like a TV show, depending on how they're staged. But clearly, Travis is into it. So I do not want any of my reactions to be read as disapproval for it existing. I am not against it for Travis. I will just be probably incredibly bored by it. This is something they definitely enjoy. Yeah. Clearly, I mean, he liked the Crucible fights. This is, I'm assuming, going to be a Crucible fight on roids. So that's, that's for him. All good. I got nothing against it. I will probably tune out a little bit during it. I'm going to be perfectly honest. But it's not for me. And that is unironically a very good lesson. That shit ain't for me. That's for Travis. He's clearly into it. It does not matter how bored or tuned out I am. For the next session or 2 sessions while Goku chars up. Yeah, exactly, Brittany. That's not for me. That's for him. So, it's that's all good. That's all good. Yeah, that kind of fight works best in a fully visual format. Yeah, and even in a fully visual format, sometimes I don't really fuck with it even then. But I agree to you. It has to, for me, it kind of has to be like an every frame a painting sort of situation where like it's almost like a kung fu movie, like a Jackie Chan, like Ip Man. Ip Man is really incredible to watch because of the cinematics of the fight itself. And for someone who is so invested in Grog, I am sure that Travis will be going, deep down the imagination rabbit hole of what this looks like. And as someone who's participating and making decisions, like, absolutely. Watching it, bleh. Watching it is a big old bleh for me. Now, I will say, if I had a player that wanted this sort of thing, for me, a lot of the ways in which I would translate that cinematic language is in arena changes. So I think about something like the final fight of season 1 of One Punch Man. That shit came out a while ago. Spoiler alert. I'll clap a bunch when I'm done spoiling it. You can mute the stream. But at the end, when he fights King Boros, they do it. They start within the ship. A bunch of the ship gets broken. They transition onto the top of the ship. Eventually, Saitama gets punted to the moon. And then he comes back. The ship starts listing. Everything's on fire. Things are breaking. Right? Like, the effect of the fight is reflected in changes within the arena. Now, a lot of the fight is also just reflected in the fight. Beyond the arena, the way in which they are drawn, the way in which they personally form and relate to each other within the arena is very intentional. And all of that stuff largely has to exist within Theater of the Mind. And I think that, TTRPGs can suffer in terms of trying to represent those types of fights. But if you have a player who's into it, they can fill in those gaps. But at least for me, the arena changes are a way that I can step a foot into trying to replicate those fights for myself more than anything. For myself, running it and enjoying running it, because otherwise it would be difficult. But I would still want to, if I had a player that was super into it like this. So that's the direction I would go towards approaching it. But if we're being real, a player that's into it, they're going to fill in a lot of that cool stuff in their head in general. Travis worked on DBZ. I believe it. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Do you think if you were playing a character like Grog, you would enjoy it more for your character? Also, do you think Travis might have the same reaction as future characters? It's hard to say. I think when we make characters, we make a character because we want to explore something, whether that is a deeper facet of ourselves, whether that's a fantasy of something we don't get to experience or live, a personality trait that we don't have, a personality trait that we do have. Like, no matter what your character is, I think it is largely defined in relation to you. It has this thing that you have, or it doesn't have this thing that you have, or it has a thing that you don't have. I think there are other ways to look at it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think that's the only way to look at character, but I think that is a valid way to evaluate a character. And so there is a certain degree of, if I was playing Grog, maybe I would. Because possibly I would want to explore that sort of experience. And that this would be, kind of the culmination of that exploration. But a character like Grog, I see that less. Like, I can imagine myself playing a strength-based character, a thug, this big warrior, sort of strongman. But I can't imagine. I would not find a lot of interest in playing Grog. I think you can pull out a lot of individual aspects of Grog that I might like playing a character as. And I know that this is unfortunately a cop-out of saying, like, well, I wouldn't get myself into that situation. But legitimately, I think part of why Grog might be interested in this is, I think it is at least in some way linked to Travis being interested in this, and I just have no interest in this type of fight. So I don't know that even when I'm looking at a character, even if it has a lot of the superficial similarities to Grog, it is not going... I think it is likely that it would not have a personality trait for or against. It would probably just be ambivalent to these sorts of fights because I just have very little interest in them. So I can't imagine that. I can imagine playing a pacifist. I can imagine playing someone who really likes fighting. I can imagine playing someone that is trying to hone their fighting technique to perfection. But none of that is sort of what this is, if that makes sense. This is like a big mano-a-mano glory bout. And I can't imagine playing a character that's into that. I can imagine playing a character much like Ip Man, that like, you know, he says like, I want to fight 15 guys at once or 20 guys at once. I can imagine playing a character like that. That is something, like I can imagine a character whose one of his core motivations is the pursuit of bodily perfection. That is a story and an arc or even just a personality trait that I can find myself being interested in. But I can't imagine any interest I would have when creating a character that would lend itself towards this. But that could be a limit to my imagination. I don't know. And also, you know, I won't speculate on Travis. I could imagine that if Travis creates a character, because all of our characters are also, I think, somewhat subsets of ourselves. I don't think they include or drive towards everything that we are interested or not interested in. So I could absolutely see him building a character later where he has no interest in seeing that character participate in this sort of thing. Absolutely. If that's kind of what you're asking. If we rush through it, we might be able to get the entire episode done in a single stream. I don't foresee, and I'll say this broadly, I don't foresee myself doing single stream stuff, at least for Critical Eyes, anytime in the future. Or anytime, at least in the near future. I have enough side stuff that I want to do, like, you know, the easy example is like filming Fantasy High, that it's like, oh, if I get done super early, I would probably rather just like keep the schedule, keep everything, you know, in pattern, and then take that extra time and go film Fantasy High. So I don't see single streams being on the horizon. Choreography can completely make or break a fight. Absolutely. Yeah, choreography is a really good way to put it. And choreography can have to do a lot with the arena, but it can also just be interactions between people. And that is not something that is built into D&D. Like D&D does not have choreography. I will actually say that almost 100%. I'm oscillating between like 80 to 100% on that. But I think broadly speaking, when we talk about like cinematic, like fight choreography, D&D just has no system to replicate that. And to give you an example, because you might say, how could a TTRPG even attempt to replicate that? If you have never heard of this game, this is a game that is 100% about choreography. Like 100% about cinematic fight choreography. It's called Torabash. And that is literally the only thing that goes on within it. And there are other games that have, you know, varying degrees of choreography. But in that sense, D&D basically has no equivalent to that type of choreography. Basically none. And I do think that that type of choreography is actually really at the heart of what makes a good or bad anime fight. Like, yes, environments can absolutely play a role, especially, you know, depending on the anime or the TV show, whatever. But I do think that fight choreography, especially for something like Dragon Ball Z, One Punch Man, those sort of superhero or superhuman dueling, kind of fight styles. I think that the choreography is near paramount for those sorts of scenes. Yeah. And to their credit, Matt and Travis are incredibly good at narrating choreography during their fights, which is why some people defend the Crucible fights. I get it. I 100%, I totally get it. If you find the imagination of the choreography enough, I do not. I have a really hard time with that sort of visualization. And so they just wind up being boring to me. I can 100% see that people that are better at that sort of visualization would have a much better time. I just don't. Yeah. When they tree strode to the Abundant Terrace previously, they got told off for appearing in the middle of the orchard, not for the spell. I thought it was before. I understand everything that everyone is saying about what actually happened. I just have this memory of Matt telling them before they went, saying, hey, if you teleport into there, they won't like that because of it being divine magic or arcane magic. I have this memory, but I can't find any evidence of it. So everything that everyone says is like, that might have happened as well. They've gone to Vasselheim many times. So offering something that did happen is not going to convince me that my thing didn't happen, to be clear. But I can't find any evidence of it. Doesn't mean you'll be doing a full app. No full app. Oh, never mind that. Yeah. I'm just on time for the CR episode already over. I know, I'm about to head out. What have you all been up to, bros? We just finished episode 84, and it's probably heading out. Oh, wait, shit. Oh, damn it. I missed them joking. I missed the joking. Do I care about the joking? There's always, people always remind me to watch the joking or the kind of the outro to the episode. And it so rarely matters, but sometimes it does. So let's pull it back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew.
No, man. Definitely not the first thing that you said. Do not do that. And there's no counter. It's just a vibe check. We need the jokes. Transport via plants is divine, not arcane, though, right? What I'm saying is that I have this memory of Matt saying that transport via plants is arcane. And then him later changing it to be divine. That is what I'm saying. I have this memory. I don't know where it was, and I couldn't find it. But that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying, is that I have a memory of it being arcanely related because of, the elements. And then him later changing it to be divine. That's what I'm saying I have the memory of. But I have no evidence of that. But I find it so hard to narrate choreography without in person physically. I can also see that. Yeah. Wasn't here for your explanation. Yeah, no worries. Okay. All right. So we're going to do jokes. And then we're pretty much done. We need the jokes.
Oh,
shit! Whenever you got back to the trial, that's been sitting there.
Yeah!
We'll pick up on that next week.
Round 2. Fight!
He's a
bad dude.
The best way.
It was Scanlan, Vax, and me against him, and we were giving him everything we had with Craven Edge, and he was just shrugging it off. Like, yeah, we were like slashing through into his forearms, then he would like go, and all the wounds would heal. Yes. And he hit, who did he one-hit punch, the one punch? Yeah, and he could have killed Vax in one punch, but he held it.
He held back specifically. He was just teaching Grog a lesson.
He just held it one hit, just like boom. And Vax was,
Vax.
Sorry.
The potion of broken heart.
He's a bad.
Oh my. But in a good way. He's like super smart. He's awesome.
I don't know what the.
That's awesome. You're gonna have your, like.
Well, the last time I was like, where does your strength come from? I'm like, my rage. And he kept like, kicking our ass. He's like, where does your strength come from? I'm like, my friends. But he let us live.
It'll be fun. So we'll see where this picks up next week.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, awesome, guys. Good game this week. You saved your friend.
Hey, Scanlan.
Come back soon, Sam.
And happy birthday to Queen.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Queen. Hooray. Yeah, no, I totally get why the outro markers and indicators are there. Yeah. Oh, well, that's it. That's it. You know what? Hey, they maybe didn't plant a bomb underneath the Abundant Terrace. I'm not entirely sure. Queen is Sam's wife. Oh, all right. Makes sense. Okay. But yeah, we will see where this goes. Next episode is going to be them fighting the guy, plus certainly some other stuff. We would assume, I would at least. And we'll see if this is going to be weird as a viewer of, like, broadly, I think that this manner of downtime is good. Like, I think this manner of downtime is good, and, like, they need the rest, and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't have a lot to say about it. I mean, I guess, this was still like a 4-hour stream, so I guess I have enough to say about it. But yeah, it's more just like, I don't know, like do shit that your players would be interested in. Let them, clean up some loose ends, like the title of this episode. But I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts, because I think it should last kind of however long the players want it to. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Is there a schedule to these streams, bro? In general, yeah. So Critical Eyes is Friday, Monday. Friday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, or 14:30 Central Time. Monday, which was today, at 11:30 Central Time. And then middle of the week, Wednesday, 2:30, 14:30 Central Time, is Age of Umbra. And then a stream on any other day is something that is not one of those three things. None of the other streams are scheduled. I just am trying to do them more often. So that's the general schedule. But yeah, I keep thinking it's Sunday. Nah. It's Monday. What that is in EST, plus 1 hour to all of it. So Central to Eastern is plus 1 hour. So that would be 15:30 or 3:30 p.m. And then 12:30, noon 30 Eastern. So anyways, I'm going to head out. I'm going to do some other stuff. And I will see you all on Wednesday for Age of Umbra. If you're going to join, that'd be cool. And that's it. Goodbye, everybody.